Ralph, David, and Tris. Ralph, David, and Tris. Ralph, David, and Tris. Rota, rota. Rota, rota. Flamenco, flamenco. 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 Ralph, David, and Tris. Ralph, David, and Tris. Ralph, David, and Tris. Ralph, David, and Tris.
Welcome, everybody. This will be the third part of the trilogy with David Ewing Jr. I'm very happy, of course, that we can continue this exploration. And hence I say, welcome back again, David.
Yes, the trilogy for the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I'm joking.
The Trinity,
Well,
maybe, yes.
yes. Hi, Raphael. Hi, Andreas. Hi, Nachiketa.
Hi, David. Hi, Raphael. Hi, Andreas. Good to see everybody here.
Yes. So can everybody hear me? Yes, as long as everybody can hear
Yes.
me. Now, it's a very important question. There are many beasts mentioned in the Bible, different types. They're not all the same. So if people go through translations, they won't understand it. But this history is very important about the beasts. It's because this is important because when we look at the world today, it's like many of the viewers have tuned in from wealthy cities and wealthy nations. Of course, they don't feel wealthy unless if they went to live somewhere like Karamai in China, or if they went to the suburbs far away from Catalinas in Buenos Aires in South America, in Argentina. If you went outside, 20 kilometers just beyond the shanty towns, then you would know what it's like. Now, the reality is 20% of the world are living in, good standards of living, what the World Bank would classify as good standards of living. And the other 80% of the world, the majority, are basically peasants. Yes, and this has been the same 500 years ago. So now when people turn around and think that Christianity or Islam was their history, it wasn't for the majority. The majority of the people were peasants or pests or beasts, how the Bible describes them. The Bible is a very important historical book. And unfortunately, we have religious crackpots, evangelists or fundamentalists in Christianity, or on the eastern side, we've got Islamists and Quranists who seem to think that, they know it all, but most of them are the descendants and the children of peasants or pests or beasts. So these descendants of the beasts, the animals, today think that their ancestors had great history, yes, and they somehow seem to think that they know what the historical stance is, or the historical record is. But the meanings of the Bible and the Quran were given in dictionaries, in fake dictionaries, a lot of them with falsified meanings, for the 80% pests or the beasts. And many of these beasts today, they're preachers, and they're preaching many things. Like, for example, in the West, at least the civilization is maturing a lot more, and has matured a lot more because there's been more economical development, and people in the West have realized and accepted that that there is a concept of of chosen people. Yes, or the children of Israel, or this royal family that's ruling the world and the elite and the New World Order. And this royal family has interbred with other royal families known as the Adamites and the Noahites and other peoples. Yes, but we had some comments. Of course, I call them trash. Yes, from Islamists and Quranists who are trying to lie and say that there is no such thing within their Quran because they're trying to hide it to convert people. So there was some Quranic comment saying there is no such thing as chosen people concept in the Quran. In the Quran, it clearly says that God favored this family known as the family of Israel. Yes, specifically, and also it says that within their family was given this royal tradition known as the prophethood. It was given to them as well as to other families also. Yes, so I didn't say it was only them, but Quranists want to preach. Of course, there's going to be many comments there. Yes, don't let it influence the history. I'm looking at the history. I'm not looking for the trash crackpots who are trying to push their religion so that people will think that their religion or their religious book is the supreme way or the supreme authority of history. And yes, Didier Lacapelle did comment saying that this Mohammed, known as the Prophet Mohammed, yes, was one of the God-fearers and, not the children of Israel. But it is well known that the Israelites and the Ishmaelites intermarried. That is why the Church of Mormon, especially in Utah, this tradition, they came from Europe. And this tradition is still there. It's a long story. We'll go through it some other time. That the Ephraimites, who were also the children of Israel, but there's two separate branches of the Ephraimites, that they were Ishmaelites. But it is well known that, for example, that King David's general, one of his generals, or major generals, was he was an Ishmaelite, but he was married to an Israelite. And then the question of of the royalhood or the prophethood and the lineages and the intermarriages as the children of Israel or as they conquered Europe, as Professor Fomenko shows, and they migrated westward and then went to the Americas, and they intermarried with many of the local royals. So it's like today it's generally called, to make it simple, it's generally called the royal family of Israel, that this is the royal family that's been there for centuries, from the time from Egypt all the way down to today. And of course, when somebody is studying up to the age of 15, you tell them, what is the language in America? It's English. Now, when you're going to advanced level between the age of 15 and 20, yes, when you study what is the language of America, English and Spanish. Now, when you're going to to age 20 to 25, more advanced, you're doing your doctorate. What is the language of America? English, Spanish, French, and many others. And then if you go beyond a doctorate, so it's like, of course, there's going to be, evangelists and Quranists and Islamists and fundamentalists, because they want to protect their alleged word of God, who are going to say David changed his story. No, I will say the same story. What do they speak in America? English. What do they speak in Canada? English. Now, if I'm going to go to more advanced level, I will say, in America, they speak English and Spanish, don't they? David, you've changed your story. You said they speak English. No, I haven't, you dummy. Yes, you religious crackpots. Yeah, I've always said they speak English, but now I'm going to a higher level. All right, so now when we're getting to a bit higher, what language do they speak in America, David? English, Spanish, French, Arabic, Chinese, many other languages. But David, you turned around and said they speak only English. I said, the religious crackpot dummies. I've not changed what I said. We're going to an advanced level. Of course, you won't understand that because, you're from a lower dumb level. Yes, unless if you want to progress, then wake up and have a look at what is reality in education. Education has different levels. Anyway, what we went through, yes, I don't want to divert the story of the beasts in the Bible. Yes, this is very important. Who are these beasts? And the thing is, when we look at what these beasts are, we can actually find the history of Europe, Asia, and the rest of the world, that the normal people, yes, did not really have a religion. So people are trying to turn around and say that our ancestors were Christians or Muslims, but they weren't. Like Nachiketa, I did a video with you. Do you recall that the evidence just from the 20th century, the peasants or the pests and the beasts, were they allowed in the religious temples anywhere in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, or Nepal, in that area known as the Indian subcontinent? Or was it just for
No,
the elite 5%?
only for the elite.
It was same in Europe. Do you think their beautiful religious centers were there for the pests? It wasn't. And then there's many people who are saying that we could do without immigration. Okay, if you can, go and make your own pair of shoes. Just go and make it. Go and make your own clothes with the resources. Go out in the countryside and let's see if you could do it. So we've built an economic system to our advantage where 80% of the world is suffering. Anyway, not to divert, to go back to the beasts, I will remind people, yes, when we look at the tree of life, here is the tree of life. There is a green line there. Yes, at the top, you will see that there is 10 circles, but 9 of the circles have numbers and one of them has a question mark. That one is Darth, or basically you could say death. So that one is always excluded, and that's to represent the temple in Jerusalem. And that's at the top hexagon or the top cube in 3 dimensions. And below the green line is 1. So we have, or the 11th one. So that is the 9 and the 11. Yes, if anybody wants to understand the 9-11. Yes, it's just mathematical geometry. Yes, and then, of course, people have invented superstition based on many events in history where they've applied this mathematics. Now, this is important because we'll to do with the beasts and how humans today fit in with the current world order and how it affects our future. Yeah, so go on to the next image. Yes, we saw this before. So this is the double cross. The double cross is to represent the 2 pentagons, hexagons. I mean, the 2 hexagons in the tree of life. And that's when the tree of life is perfect. Yes. And so as you see, there is 2. One is to represent the stars going round in the heavens. One's to represent the position in the north and the position in the south. Or we could say today, the southern one is Mecca, and the northern one is where the question mark is, and that is where Jerusalem is today. And the question mark are death or Darth, and that's why all these religious conflicts, they bring death. So a major part of the New World Order is to remove religion from the rule of law, which is, many people would say, a great thing that they've done, because it causes a lot of hatred and a lot of bloodshed. As we could see, Islamists, fundamentalist Christians, Christianists, I mean, not nice Christians who are very good people, not Muslims who are very good people, but the crackpots who give their humanistic meaning with their human mind of imaginary meanings of the Bible and the Quran. Yeah, so the next slide. Yes, so as we saw, there is the simple cross, and then they redesign it and other things, but it's based on the flower of life. Yes, the double cross and then the separation with the earth on the papal cross. Now the next slide. Yes, so here we have it, the tree of life. So on the position of death, they put Jesus Christ there, and at the top cross. This was very important because the tree of life is there to represent science and the universe. And when we go, I've explained this in my book, Secrets of the Kabbalah, whereby it was originally just science and geometry to help with construction and to understand the stars above and the earth below and many other things. But they got people distracted, saying, hey, it represents Christ and the crucifixion. Now, as you notice, there's 3 poles. Now, when we go to the next page, yeah, what we see, these are the 3 poles of the tree of life. So that's why they said there was 3 people at the crucifixion. Or they say this even though in the Bible, in some places, we see that there's more than 3 people. Yes, and Jesus Christ was from that same royal family. Yes, and what he wanted to do was share things with the other 80% of the people. Like right now, there's many people in the world who say that we are so selfish. I mean, look at how many pairs of shoes you've got. I mean, at least I'll say the truth. In my bedroom right now, I counted the other day, I've got 13 pairs of shoes. Just in my bedroom, God knows how many in the rest of the house. And I asked other people. And then when we look at it, there's 2 billion people around the world without a pair of shoes, or 2 billion people without access to a proper toilet. Yes, so when people are, when we've got these Islamist fundamentalists, Quranists, and even evangelists, just get lost. Don't comment. There's 2 billion people without toilets and shoes. Go and do some charity work since you care so much. I mean, why are you coming to preach to us when we're talking about history? And many people want to understand world history. That's what my interviews are about. They're about my books about world history. I'm not interested in your crackpot religious theories. Yeah, if you want, you can go out there and help people. I mean, I do charity work myself, and that's why I pointed it out, because I'm thinking, why are these religious crackpots coming to tell me their opinions when they want, when they, money talks and Bullstein walks, when they won't put their money where their mouth is, and they're not giving 5 cents or $5. That's if they can afford it. Yeah, because many of them are jobless bums. Yes, who are just looking for something to do, bored out of their backside, sat there thinking, hey, I'll just start preaching or something. Anyway, next. Yeah, so here is the crucifixion as you could see it. Yes, it's based on the Kabbalah tree of life. They invented the entire full story. Unfortunately, this is the reality. Now go to the next. Yeah, we saw some of this before, but it's important. Now, after about 2 or 3 minutes, we'll get on to the new stuff. But it's very important to understand what the tree of life is. As you can see, the cube and the way it's decorated has got something to do with the old world order, and it's got to do with knowledge. That's what the tree of life is about. The sacred knowledge, yes, or sacer in Latin, or sacer in Arabic, or secret in modern English. So next. Yes, so as we can see, even the way the Kaaba is and the way they want the temple in Jerusalem and how it's going to be geometrically constructed, it's a lot to do with the geometry of the universe and our Earth, and what it's got to do with our energy, and to do with the present life, and to do with the future. So these are very important things if people want to understand why things happen right now and why things happen in the future. Everything is geometrical, everything is scientific, and you don't have to be superstitious. Yes, you can figure out things yourself through science and geometry. Jesus Christ was, a geometrist. Euclid, as Flamenco shows next. Yes, so this is very important because there was a few people who cannot see it. Now, when you look at Superman and General Zod and the Trinity are the three bad people in Superman 2, they're stuck in 2 dimensions. Yes, in a cube, and they're flying around the universe until the nuclear explosion happens. What's Superman 2? And you'll see they're stuck in a square, that's 2 dimensional. And so, but dimensionally, the flower of life has got 19. Now, when you turn it into 3 dimensions, it becomes 33. And that's what the cube is about. And that's what the 33rd degree is about. This is very important. I'm saying it again because somebody said, I can't see how you get 19 to 33. You have 1, then 3, then 3 round spheres or balls. And then you put them with 19 in the middle layer, and then 3, and then 3, and then 1. Yes, which makes 33, and it forms the shape of a cube. Now, next. Now here it is from Transformers. This was very important. You could see the symbol of the Alpha and the Omega. Can you guys see the Alpha and the Omega there? The cross?
Yes, on the bottom.
Yes.
Yes. So the Alpha and the Omega and the sun and the moon above it. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes. So the sun and the moon, a lot of it is to do with geometry, the geometry of the universe and the things that we could see in our eyes around us, the geometry of the earth. The Alpha is the first, the Omega is the last, the number 9, and there is the cross. So this represents everything. Now the next. So here we see this was in Transformers. So as you could see, the top one was the problem, where they're coming and they're saying that their civilization got destroyed, the Transformers civilization, and then the bottom one was the Earth, and we have the flower of life inside the circle, which is the 19. So it's like for both of them there is a conflict. So now the bottom one is Mecca. Yes, and the top one is the Jerusalem one. So there is a war, unless if we can find a kind of agreement to do for the other side. Unfortunately, people are fighting about it. The next. Yes, so now this is very important, the word cross. Now, of course, there's many people who are going to quote languages. Now, if you read all my books, I've forgotten which of the books they're in, I've showed that they invented all the modern languages and that the people at the top, they speak a language, or they did in the past, and they used a language known as the language of the rabbi. And the language of the rabbi, you could call it Arabi or Arabic, not the modern dictionary Arabic meanings. It's a very simple language. It's used in the Bible and the Quran. You could say the Bible's in Old Hebrew. You could say the Quran is in Old Hebrew, or you could say that the Bible is in Old Arabic, or the Quran is Old Arabic. Call it what you want. I'm not here to fight, but it's basically the same language. Now, somebody could read this, the verse of the throne of God. Just the first sentence. How do you pronounce that in Arabic?
Ayat al-Kursi.
Yeah, so it's up to you how you pronounce it, but it's the verse of the cross. Can you see? Kurisi Korosi. So the verse of the cross. So the throne of God, the concept of the cross actually is in Islam geometrically, if one understands geometrics. And of course, there's going to be Islamists and Quranists. They hate the cross, many of these people. And the thing is, of course, they're going to say, hey, it's a curse. It's not a curse. That's where the word curse also comes from. And the word cross, yes, it's from the old world languages. And the throne of God is actually the cross. Symbolically, I'm talking about geometrically in science and geometry. That's why when we construct a building, yes, you draw a cube or you draw a cross. Yes, two lines. I'm not talking about the cross, that one line is longer than the other. Both lines have got to be equal. Yes, so that is the actual cross. So when people were praying in the Middle Ages, I'm not talking about the peasants and the beasts. We say, oh, our ancestors came from Europe 200 years ago. Our ancestors must have been, Christians. No, you all lived outside these city walls. The cities only had about a few thousand people. There wasn't enough room for you guys. You guys were outside the walls. There was no farming there, no shoes there, no clothes there. The people inside the city walls, the majority, were slaves doing farming and a few other things. Oh, and the population didn't go up because there's the history that they castrated them or whatever so that they can't have children, and they were kept as peasants or slaves. And that's why in the verse it turns around and says righteousness is to release these people. That was the final revolution, that after Muhammad came, the population started going up. Yes, but there was birth control back then. Yes, and so the people were like cannibals. That's why when they killed people, yes, what they did was they took them outside the city walls, just hung them on a pole, or you could call it a cross. And then, all these people who are like animals eating mud and everything came running over, blood falling, and they started eating the people. So it's like nobody could understand why there was so much cannibalism. Yes, before the 17th century, how this could happen. Remember, we discussed these things, Andreas and Raphael, do you remember 2 years ago? We went through these stories, from my book.
Absolutely.
Yes. So now, can you imagine today if somebody's being hung on a stick? I mean, who's going to run out there thinking, let's just jump on his legs and eat them? Oh, his arms, let's tear them off. It's because they did it outside the city walls. Yes. And so anybody who they didn't like. So that's what was going on. And the cross, the cross was originally a beautiful symbol, and it still is. If you remove the superstition and the fake history, it is the throne of God. Yes, it represents it. Same, like we are taught things to understand God. We're told that God is watching everywhere. That doesn't mean that God's got eyes everywhere. That His eyes are hanging out of the clouds, or they're inside the rivers and the sea. So the thing is, in Arabic, it's called the Ayat al-Karashi. Yes, or Karasi, however you want to pronounce it. So now next. Yes, so
It
here
is
we
interesting.
have.
A Carusi looks like cross too. That's kind of interesting.
Oh, don't worry, we'll go through the evidence. Yes, so here, as you will notice, so the Arabic and the Hebrew is actually the same. When it refers to God, it says Hova, like Jehovah, but it's not a J. Yahuwah, Yahuwah, him. Yes, Rabbu means Lord, the great Lord. And then it says the throne is called Arsh. Yes, the throne of God, and that's where the word Reish comes from. You know, the Reichstag. Yes, or Rush, or Irish. Yes, or you know, and the representatives were called the Rus or Rus. Yes, or the Rasul in Arabic, or what they say, the ancient Rus. So now the next, we find these in European languages. Yes, because it was the history of Europe. So then here is the throne of God. It's can you see it before you? Yes. So the throne of God is the cross you, and then it talks about the sky, and then it says the sky and the earth. The throne of God is basically everything that we could see. It means that the throne of God is the sky, which is called the heavens, or the summer sky, or sama, the European word summer. Yes, you know, in many Germanic languages is from there, and then the arda, or the order, or the earth. Yes, so even these Arabic words are Germanic European words. And of course, yes, when we look at the people in the Middle East, like these Arabs and you know, Iranians and Indians and Pakistanis, many of them are Muslims today. Oh, by the way, a large percentage of Muslims in Europe and America who came first were from these third world regions who were uneducated. And they've come to the West here, and they're preaching to people who have a few decades extra of education. And now they're using dictionaries which were written in Europe. And now they're trying to tell people in Europe, yes, what is the meanings of the Bible and the Quran. That sounds a little crazy to me. Of course, there's many smart and intelligent people there, but you know, it sounds like a bit of a joke. Yes, whereby yes, they're trying to teach things that came from Europe when many of their ancestors were, as the Bible would describe them, pests or beasts. So we could see that the throne of God extends over the heavens and the earth according to this Quran, and it's a cross. It's a beautiful cross. Yes, that these Islamists and Quranists, you know, these crackpots curse and many of the things and things like that. But it's a beautiful symbol. Yes, you know, even historically. Yes. So now next. Yes. So here, we're here it shows an example that how many Muslims pronounce the word cross or kursi or kudsi, and that's why the place in Jerusalem, it's called Beit al-Maqdus, or Hakadosh. Kadosh means holy in Hebrew, Kadosh, and that's why many people from the Jewish community, especially Orthodox Jews and anti-Zionists, want to establish a temple there, and it's called Kudsi, yes, or Kursi, and it means chair to some people in many dialects. So some people pronounce it kursi or krossi. Some people pronounce it kutsi or kadosh. Next. Yes. So now somebody could read this. This is history itself.
The cross as the throne. The cross was not a place of defeat, but was where the king of the Jews reigned with a crown of thorns.
Yes, this is actual history. So that's why even in the Quran confirms it, but many Muslims deny it, especially Islamists and Quranists. So the throne, yes, is a cross. I don't mean the long cross, just a simple cross. Yes, you know, where it's got equal lengths. Yes, so that's what it was historically. That X marks the spot, or where even a king sat in Europe. Yes, his throne or his seat, or the Quds or the Kadosh. Yes, the seat or the throne was actually a cross. Yes, and so that's why they said Jesus Christ is on the cross. Yes, basically he died there, or he went to the death to match with the tree of life. Yes, and they gave him a crown to say that he is the king on the cross, or the cross of God. Yes, or the Ayat al-Cross, al-Kursi. Yes, but many Muslims deny it. Yes, and they're preaching people all over the world. Yeah, I'm sure this is new information. I hope the world takes a stand against not the beautiful Muslims, that many of them are peace loving, normal people. They go to the mosque, they come home, they pray, they're selling us their kebabs. Nice people. Yes, I'm talking about the crazy preachers who are standing there making YouTube videos and they think they were going to take over the world with their preaching. And they're saying, oh, this is the final message of God and this is the best one, blah, blah, blah. And they're just going on and on with videos, preaching and whatever. Half of it's garbage and it's lies, just trash. Next, please. Yeah, so here, yes, somebody could read this.
This is from Quora. Why is there a cross on the head of the king chess piece? Oh, good question. A cross is often at the top of a monarchy's crown to symbolize the Christian nature of that monarchy. Crown.
Yes, so that's what Wikipedia will say. So they're going to say it was Christian. But what Professor Fomenko shows out, like there was bishops in Russia who had Allah written on the cross or on their, on their crowns, bishops' crowns. And so the cross did not represent Christianity. And then the beasts, most of the people in Europe will soon go through it, were beasts. And they think their ancestors were Christians. They weren't. So people who are descendants of the beasts or the pests or the peasants, they can't turn around and say that they know this history and say, hey, I just found a cross here. You know, there's many crosses that they found. It says Allah written inside it. The cross actually represented the throne or the cruci. Yes, even the evidence is there in Old Hebrew or Old Rabbi language or Arabic language. Yes, and so today historians tell lies and say this is the evidence to prove that somebody was Christian. No, it wasn't. If somebody understands sacred geometry, then they will know, oh my God, it's a scam. They're lying about the history. Next, please. Yeah, so somebody could read this.
Before the
judge. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, please. Andreas, go ahead.
I'm not sure if my mic's okay, but before, tell me if this is a good level.
A little hot, but it's good. Yeah.
Okay. Before the judgment of Christ, before the judgment seat of Christ, kings are normally crowned while sitting on a throne. The king is crowned as he sits upon the cross. It is proclaimed for all to see the king.
Yes. So it is known not just in alleged Christian countries, but in even Muslim countries. It's like a square or a cube, and then there's a cross on the floor. And then the thing is, the kings that we call kings today, they will say it's a Mongolian title or a Turkish word that just basically means Khan or Khan. Yes, and the thing is, it just meant the leader, not like king as we see God is the king. It was like the representative of God, and so they were crowned. Yes, in history, throughout Europe, throughout Asia, and many places that the person who ruled was sitting on a chair or a kuds or the kadosh, a holy place, or they classified it as holy because what he was going to do was rule, yes, according to the legislation of the law or Allah, yes. And so it was basically a cross. So the cross represents a throne. And that's why the cross existed even before Christianity. And they've given us a fake timeline and things like this and saying, oh, ancient Egypt was thousands of years ago. And in India, they had crosses thousands of years ago. No, it was actually the symbol of the throne, either the throne of the king, yes, or the throne of God. That's why people made, when you go to pray, yes, in many churches, it's a beautiful thing. Don't stop because these Islamists and Quranists are preaching to you with their lies. Yeah, you touch your head, yes, then just below your chest, and then both your shoulders. You're making a symbol of the throne of God. Yes, because the throne of God extends over the heavens and the earth, even according to the Quran. Yeah, so you're making the symbol to say, I've entered the presence of God, and then you start praying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. You could pray as you wish. It's like, that's a different question, if God is the Father or not. Yes, or if you want to say, Our God, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, etc. It's a very beautiful symbol. Yes, and so when the symbol was politicized, this is when the Eastern churches broke off with the Vatican. And then they said, "Oh, we're not going to have symbols on the cross like statues of Christ." That's why Orthodox churches refused to put a statue of Jesus Christ on their crosses. And even that got politicized. And then Orthodoxy separated into Islam, where Islam stopped using the cross symbol altogether. Or we find that the Serbs still make the cross symbol when they pray, and they pray in the same way like Muslims, but it's an older tradition. And then we find that if you go across the border in Croatia, many people they make the cross symbol, the same cross symbol. It's a beautiful symbol, yes. And the Muslims stopped it because of politicization. When the politics is removed, it's a beautiful symbol. Yes. So if Muslims want to do it, why not? It just shows that you're praying, that you've entered the presence of God, that's all you've done. Yes. And so there is the question that the Latin churches went a bit further with many of their statues. That even in Croatia, yes, they refused many of these symbolic statues. I went to churches in Zagreb and in Split and other places, and I didn't see them. Yes, unless if these churches were directly under control by the Vatican. Yes. Next. Yeah, somebody could read this.
The coronation of the king, cross is indeed the means by which he is crowned as king. It was on the cross that Jesus became not only king of the Jews, but king of the world.
Yes, it's because the cross, or the kursi in Old Hebrew, Old Arabic, the kursi. Yes, that is the representation of the throne of God. So therefore, they had to put Jesus Christ on the throne of God to show that he is God, basically. So that was the purpose of showing it. And then they showed that he died, in other words, to show that 9/11 is over. You see, that the 11th one was the dart, and it fell on the earth, and then it went back to 10. Yes, long story. People will have to read my book, 33 Degrees and Secrets of Kabbalah, to understand that. Next. Yeah, somebody could read this.
Kings were usually crowned while sitting on the thrones, not hanging from crosses. But this Jesus was a different kind of king. For him, the cross was his throne. In the ancient world, it would have been unthinkable for a cross to serve as a throne. Crucifixions represented everything that was the opposite of kingship.
Yes. So now, of course, they've given some fake ancient history. Yes, because the cross symbol was stolen, the beautiful symbol. Yes, but kings were usually crowned sitting on thrones, not hanging from a cross that's hanging. It's like it's difficult. Try to put a block of wood there, standing there, and then put another one sideways to do a crucifixion. It's like to balance it in the Middle Ages, when you're just hanging a thief or somebody that you just want to get rid of. So the cross basically is the throne. And then they've added on the fake ancient history, yes, to show that the cross did not represent the throne, but the cross represents the throne. And that's why on kings' crowns, where they were Muslims, yes, that we see in Moscow, or whether they were Christians, as we see in the Holy Roman Empire, yes, they all had the cross above their crown to show that God is at the throne above, and that the crown was called like the crown or the Quran or the corona, the crown. Yes, and so it was like they would rule according to the reading of God or the way of God. Yes, and so there's the crucifixion itself was the opposite of kingship. Yes, it represented death, and today they've turned it into the symbol of death, and they're giving it to babies. But it's like so how they're doing it. they call it a ritual. It's if you want to call it, if it's in the Catholic Church. But if you're doing a baptism, and if you're making a cross symbol on the baby's head for the baptism, and you're doing it with the intention to represent, to show that it's the throne of God, that's a beautiful thing. But if you're doing it as a symbol of death, the baby child's just born, then that's something else. Yes. Okay, next. So here we have it, the cross on top of crowns. Yes. And so the thing is, the coronation crosses. And notice that it's like the cross forms the square and the circle, squaring the circle. That information, because there is a double cross, you have to understand both, or you will never understand half. Half doesn't explain it. So that's why there's two. One is today, the science and the geometry is in Mecca, and the other one, which is incomplete, and that's why we see a lot of inside jobs and mathematical codes, and it's to do with a lot of inside jobs that are linked to stories of death, like the war in Gaza and other things. Yes, and September the 11th, and to do with the 19s, that's to do with the top cross. But anyway, the cross represents the throne of God when the square and the circle are united, which is the universe. And so God is above you, and so you're ruling, yes, under the authority of God. That's how kings have always had, yes, their authority, that they are ruling, yes, by the permission and authority of God, because God is the actual king. Yes, next. Yeah, so somebody could read this.
Today, Jesus is our high priest, and he himself has sprinkled his own blood on the true mercy seat in heaven, the throne of grace. Interestingly, the number of times the Old Testament high priest had to sprinkle blood on the mercy seat, 7, speaks of Jesus' perfect sacrifice.
Yeah, so as you could see, they've turned it into some fantasy fairy tale story. And some of the stories in the Bible sprinkling blood on the cross. Yes, or the mercy seat or the throne of God, you see. And so this is when you add stories like this to the symbol of the cross, that's when it becomes horrible. And that is why when Islam split from Christianity, yes, or Islam was actually Christianity, it was the same religion, they split because of many of these actions. It's because, me personally, I love the cross, but if somebody's going to give me a cross with them, with my neighbor's blood on it and stuff, forget it. I don't want that cross. In fact, I'll think I'm going to stop doing it. And I'll tell my younger brothers and sisters, and if I have children one day, I'll say, don't make that symbol. I'll say, because today it represents something else. But it originally represented the throne of grace, or the throne of the mercy seat of God in the heavens and the earth, and the throne of God. Yes, that's what it originally was. Yes, and Islam and Christianity, they both agree on this because it's the same story. It came from the same history. Next. Yeah, so somebody could read this. Yes, both.
Starting
at the top. Yeshua.
Yeshua in Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, God instituted the day when he could be reconciled with his people, the day of Yom Kippur, which ultimately points to the day of the cross. Mercy seat and the throne of grace, what are they? Romans 3:25 says that Jesus is our mercy seat because of his death on the cross. We come to him for mercy, for God has made a provision for us.
Okay, so now the thing is, as we can see, that's a long story. I won't go into Judaism. Yom Kippur is a beautiful day. Yes, and Kippur, I'm saying it in modern English. Some people could say the day of the Kaaba. Yes, or you could say it like that, or the day of Hagigah or Hajj, how the Muslims do it, or the pilgrimage, and it points to the day of the cross, or towards the cross, because the cross is the throne of God. And so Jesus became the mercy seat, yes, because Jesus is now on the cross. Now, the thing is, there is the question that many people turn to Jesus and ask for forgiveness of sins. Now, this became a problem between several factions in history, and those that said, no, God himself is God, and that Jesus Christ, you shouldn't, he's not the mercy seat. So this is where Islam actually splits with Christianity, and then Orthodoxy, the Eastern churches were in the middle. Yes, and so this is something that's a problem. And the thing is, of course, many Islamists and Quranists will deny it. But, for example, the Bible says a beautiful thing. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God in the New Testament. And then, the Quran itself says that Jesus Christ was basically the Word of God, or a word from God. Yes. And so the thing is, the problem was some people said, hey, we are going to communicate directly with Christ. Yes. And there is the verse in the Quran that actually says, hey, if they came to Muhammad and asked for forgiveness, so why can't people go to Jesus and ask him for forgiveness? So these are things that cause problems because there's the preachers that cause the problem, saying that you can do it, or that's the only way. Some of them were saying it, like the Latin churches. The Orthodox churches, they were like in the middle, saying, "Yeah, you can or you can't. That's up to you." And then there was the crazy Islamists and the humanist Quranists who were saying, "Oh no, you can't do it like that. Basically, you can't." It's like, ignore the preachers. Investigate this yourself. This is a very deep subject. Yes, and that's theology, and it's up to you how to interpret it. Yes, and the thing is, good luck. Yes, ignore all these fanatical preachers. Yes, next. Yeah, somebody could read this. This is from, from Judaism. Yes, the Parshat Teruma. Yes, and notice it's like parasha or Persia. Yes, notice that word, but it's supposed to represent chapters and parts. It's something to do with separation in books and many other things. But somebody could read it.
The mercy seat, Parashat Teruma, the Kaporet therefore foreshadows the cross of Jeshua, and his shed blood is the means whereby a holy God can righteously forgive our sin.
Yes, but the main thing is the mercy seat or the cross. It's the throne of God or the seat of God. You see? Yes, and the Quran agrees with this, even though Muslims disagree. I'm not interested in anybody's religious views. If it's historical, I'm interested. If it's any of your crackpots, Muslim preaching, leave it somewhere else, because I'm discussing history. I'm sorry for the strong words, but I've had enough, because many people are now saying I'm supporting these crackpots preachers. Yes, these crackpot preachers, and they think I'm preaching. I'm not. Yes, next. Now, so this is very important to do with the beasts, because many people have turned around and said, what is actually going on. And then we're going to look at Jesus Christ is God. There is God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, according to the Bible. So now Jesus Christ is God, basically, according to the Christian Trinity. Now, this is God himself. So this is Jesus before he came to earth. And what does Jesus tell the people to do? People could read this.
Kill men, women, and children. Then I heard the Lord say to the other men, follow him through the city and kill everyone whose forehead is not marked. Show no mercy, have no pity. Kill them all, old and young, girls and women, and little children. But do not touch anyone with the mark. Begin your task right here at the temple. So they began by killing the 70 leaders. Defile the temple, the Lord commanded. Fill its courtyards with the bodies of those you kill. Go.
Okay.
So they went throughout
Okay.
the city and did as they were told. Ezekiel 9:5.
Yes, so here we have it, Jesus Christ, before he came on holiday to visit earth, according to the Bible. I mean, Jesus is a beautiful God. As a God, he's telling us to kill pensioners, old people. Raphael, Andreas, Nachiketa, have you ever killed any pensioners?
I have
I
not, no.
tried my best to protect them, even though it's difficult these days.
Well, Jesus Christ said kill them before he came to earth. Jesus.
Well, sure, this is Jesus, though. This is Ezekiel, right? So this is actually supposed to be
No,
like
no, no,
when
it's
the
the Lord.
Deuteronomist.
The Lord is telling people. It's the book.
Yeah, but
the,
that's like when they go from, because before this you have the Deuteronomist. So originally the Jews had a Elohim, which was plural, a family of God with Asherah. So
we're
this
not
is
talking
talking
about
about
Jews.
the
We're
time when they're
talking about
killing
Jesus
all of the
Christ.
Jews that worship
Jesus
their
Christ
own
is God.
gods,
Jesus
and they're
Christ is God the
replacing it
Father,
with the
God the Son.
Tetragrammaton. So this is
Yes.
the Tetragrammatonist Deuteronomist. They're saying kill
But
anyone
Jesus
else.
Christ is the second part of God in Christianity, and the Bible is God's word. And here we have is Yahweh or God the Father, who is Jesus
So
Christ.
you would contest
telling
like that
people to kill
Ezekiel is
Pentecost,
from,
kill
you're saying
babies.
Ezekiel's a later book that's like after Christ is, it's
So
a
if
it's
you're going to say that they falsified these books or with later things, that means Christianity is a forgery.
well, in a lot of
How can
ways
you
it
say
is,
this?
but that doesn't mean that there wasn't a smoking gun or a Jesus, or Yeshua character, right? I
Anyway,
think that's
let's not distract. Let's not distract. God the Father, God the Son. Here we have God the Father saying, kill all the babies as well, all them kids. Have you ever killed any children?
no, luckily.
Ah, okay. Well, if Jesus Christ, when he was God the Father, if he ordered you to kill pensioners and babies, would you do it?
I mean, again, these are the Deuteronomists, these are the Pharisees and Sadducees that Jesus was protesting against, right? Jesus was supposedly protesting against
Well, by
this
the way,
group of
this is not
people.
Pharisees and Sadducees. This is that what do you call it? Yes, that they a commandment of God, not the commandment of the Pharisees, not the commandment of anybody except God the Father Himself. This is Jesus Christ making a command before He came to earth. Ah, it's a dilemma. Don't worry, let's go to the next. It's a problem. Yes, because this is important about the beasts. So here we have the pensioners. Jesus Christ, God the Father, is telling you to kill these pensioners. Yes. Ah, yes, and people are telling me to accept that the Trinity and that Jesus Christ is God. Yes, next. I'm pointing this out. Oh, Jesus Christ, he said, kill all the children. Here we don't go. Here we have all the children. Christ turned around as God the Father. When he was God the Father, he said, kill all them kids as well. Fill the place with bodies, just kill them all. Yes. Next. So now somebody could read this. Here is God the Father in the book of Isaiah. This is not the Pharisees. God the Father speaking. Jesus Christ, the Lord, who was the Father in heaven before he came to visit us on holiday. This is what he said. You could read this.
More rape and baby killing. Anyone who is captured will be run through with a sword. Their little children will be dashed to death right before their eyes. Their homes will be sacked and their wives raped by the attacking hordes. For I will stir up the Medes against Babylon, and no amount of silver or gold will buy them off. The attacking armies will shoot down the young people with arrows. They will have no mercy on helpless babies and will show no compassion for the children. Isaiah 13:15.
Just for
So
reference, like how wild is the Bible? I mean, like, you know what I mean? If you want to read some hardcore stuff, the Bible's pretty much got more action than I think people realize.
Well, it's not the Bible. This is Jesus Christ, God the Father, before he came to visit us on holiday. Yeah, before he decided to set the future that he's going to die on the cross, that he's saying that he's going to send the armies of Babylon to, kill babies and even rape people. I mean, if God the Father, if Jesus Christ as God the Father ordered you people to rape people's wives, are you going to do it? If
Definitely
he's
not.
going to,
No.
how dare you defy God the Father, Jesus Christ as God the Father? I mean, the church won't like that. The Vatican won't like that. I mean, what's Daddy Papa going to say in Rome if you disobeyed? Yes, Nachiketa. How can you defy Papa? Next.
I guess I just have
You
to.
know, I can answer that. Yes. Now here we have, let's get on with the beasts. So now somebody could read this. You have to start backwards when it says, but let's be covered with sackcloth, man. And as you notice, The Quran and the Bible are basically written in the same way. It's not in sentences. It doesn't really have past tenses and future tenses. In the oral Quran, you can see this, but it's invented when you write it down. That's why many evangelists invent the meanings, because they want to give a new meaning, because, people can see that Christianity is a bit of a joke in the past. And we have these Quranists today who open up the Quran and they're opening up the manuscripts, but they ignore the oral Quran because they know they want to invent the meanings, because many of them came from third world countries, and then now they've progressed economically here. And same like when the Jewish community came, there was the self-hating Jew. They're same like these self-hating third world Muslims who came to the West, the self-hating Muslims who've become Quranists, trying to give new meanings. Yes, but here, as you could see in the Bible, the Hebrew is the same as the Arabic. If anybody understands Hebrew, then or Arabic, they will notice that it's basically the same, the Quranic Arabic, and you will find them in Germanic languages. Yes, wa. I'll start reading in Hebrew. Wa could mean and or but. Wa yitkasu. Yes, let it be covered. Sakim, like a sack. Yes, the sackcloth. I'll read it instead to make it easy. And then it's saying that God the Father, Jesus Christ. So this is how Jesus spoke before he was born. He said that you should wear a sack as clothes, a bag. Basically, all the men should wear it. Yes, and all the beasts. Yes, the two-legged beasts, which is the public, who are inside the city walls. Never mind the beasts who are who are like animals who are outside the city walls. So they should wear these sackcloths, and they should cry to God. Yes, they should cry to God very loudly or mightily, and they should turn everyone away from his path of evil and away from the violence that is in their hands. But let's have a look at the Hebrew. It's the same as the Arabic, and so because there are many people have said it, that many Muslims are looking for ways to take over the West. Yeah. Yes, and so one of the latest inventions, the two new inventions in the last 20 years are Islamism and Quranism. Yes, and they're inventing things. But here, as we could see, sackcloth is sakim. Can you see it? Can anybody see it? Notice the word sack is in English, and it's in the Hebrew, and that's the Old Arabic. And then man here, it does not necessarily mean man. It could mean the children of Adam. Ha-Adam, yes, and then it says the beasts, yes, Bahima, Bahima, wa means and also there, yes, and then it says wa yikrau, yes, and even in Arabic, akura, kura means like to cry or to call God, yes, or call God, and here it's the same thing, wa yikrau. Yeah, and then El could mean to or from, and then Elohim over there in modern Hebrew, how they pronounce it. But actually, it's the letter A. It's written with the letter A there. If anybody knows Hebrew, it's not written with the letter E. So it actually says Allahim. Allahim. It does not say Elohim there. That's a fake pronunciation because we no longer have the oral Quran. But what is this that God is asking the beasts? The animals should cry to God and they should turn to pray to God. Can you see this, you guys? Who are these beasts who were told to pray to God? Don't tell me you've been asking your dog.
Behema, so like, is this like the goyim essentially, right? Like these are the human, like the true human.
Yeah, it's the beasts. All these people who are living throughout Europe and Asia who think.
Right. Okay. I'm on that. I can definitely follow. That's interesting because it doesn't say like the horrible satanic serpent or this seraph, or it says the beast. Yeah, that's very interesting.
Good. Don't worry, we'll go through more evidence. And what's so important is that these people keep saying, no, our ancestors were Christians. Because when I pointed out, saying, look, yes, Islam dominated Europe, our Prophet Muhammad. Because even Flamenco shows he basically conquered the old world order and the world changed. Yes, after the fall of Istanbul, or the Sultan Mehmet, who came with armies, with German armies and Russian armies, Slavic armies, and took over Constantinople, where the Pharisees and the Vatican were based. Anyway, the next page, somebody could read this.
Jonah
Yes.
3:8. I'll read it. Jonah 3:8. Furthermore, let both man and beast be covered. All persons and animals must wear sackcloth. Everyone must pay earnestly to God and must
Pray.
give up their
Pray.
wicked behavior. Yeah.
Everyone must pray. It doesn't say pay. Everyone must
Oh,
pray.
I'm sorry. Yeah, pray. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, so
Earnestly to give to God. Yes. Sorry.
yeah, and give up their wicked behavior and evil actions. So these are people living within the city walls. So now once you understand this and you look at medieval cities, they were all small, few hundred people, and some of them a few thousand, and it was like a central castle with a moat, and then there was a few fields outside it to grow there. So the beasts were the slaves outside there, and then the soldiers were the children that they kidnapped, just the young boys, and they castrated them so that they can't have children or anything, and the beasts were in the fields. Yes, and those who were living outside the city walls were totally naked, just eating mud, cannibalism, and all that stuff. And the evidence is there in many stories that they wrote down throughout history what happened during the Middle Ages in Europe and Asia. That if you went outside the city walls, yes, many of the people, like when they did their executions or something, the crowds outside the city walls came running, yes, just to eat you, drink your blood, and just eat you. Yes, that's in my book, Skulls and Bones, and we discussed this, Andreas, before. But so who are these beasts? These animals, these beasts, were the people within the city walls, and that is the 20% of the people like today who are living within the walls of the cities or this modern civilization we've got today, and the 80% is outside. But there's a difference in the New World Order. The New World Order is trying, a lot of it, not everybody, trying to bring the rest of the world to move forward economically. So now we'll go through the beasts. So now the next page is the story of Pharaoh. Yes, in the book of Exodus. Yes, and here, this is God the Father. This is Jesus Christ. Before he was born, he was commanding that the firstborn in the land of Egypt, the firstborn of Pharaoh, yes, who sits on the throne, yes, should die. And here it says the throne is Kiswa or Kiso, yes, and even the firstborn of the maid servant. So this means that many of these rulers, yes, had some of the animals as servants, and they had children with them. Yes, and then the firstborn of the animals. Yes. Now many people seem to think, oh, God had the firstborn sheep killed or some other things, and some other people are trying to say, oh no, these beasts were black people or somebody. No, the truth is, we see these city walls, castle walls throughout Europe, and we could see the size of these cities. They were just small. Rome only had a few hundred people for the elite living there, and the rest of the people who were inside the 5,000-10,000 within the city walls from the 16th century. Yeah, we could see that those people were they used them like animals just to do the farming, and then the soldiers that they had, yes, were given training, but they weren't allowed to give birth to children. Yes, so that's how they did birth control before. And then everybody else was like animals outside the city walls. But notice the animals and the beasts. So now the next page, somebody could read this in the orange writing. It's difficult. Yes, I'll read it. This is a commandment from Jesus Christ when he was God the Father, when he made a command to Moses. Yeah, because Jesus is God the Father. So now let's get straight, because many people don't point that out. Yeah, so here is Jesus Christ telling Moses. Yes, when Jesus was God the Father. Yes, and then we have it in the Kabbalah and the Talmud or the Midrash, I forgot, where it says that God is a woman. But then, God the Father is a woman. And somebody said, oh, David is sexist. I'm not. I'm talking about history here. Nobody knows my opinions. Yeah, please don't make up any garbage. Yes, just because you got garbage coming out of your mouth. Yeah, well, God the Father, yes, according to many historical sources that we find, Jewish sources, is supposed to be the Shekinah or a woman. And then it says that, but in Christianity, it's a man. It's Jesus Christ is God the Father who became the Son. But then it says that Moses had sexual intercourse with God the Father. And so if God the Father was Jesus, this means Moses had sexual intercourse with Jesus Christ. This is in my book, 33 Degrees. And many people will understand what transsexualism is, or many of these agendas and trans kids and many other things. Yeah, you'll understand more of this. I've explained the historical aspects of it through religion in my book, 33 Degrees. So, Raphael, you read that book. Do you remember the story? That God is supposed to be the woman, the Shekinah, and Moses slept with him. Her, I
She
mean.
might be indisposed at the moment.
Raphael's indisposed. Okay, but it's in that book anyway. So the thing is, but here
Right,
in
like the
Exodus,
feminine aspect of God. Yeah.
yeah, are you back, Raphael?
No, sorry, I
That
was
was
just saying
Andreas.
Andreas. Yeah, I was
Ah,
just thinking because like Elohim is plural and Asherah is the wife of God and Shekinah. Right. There's a whole
yes,
idea of the
Yes, David.
feminine
yes,
aspect of
Unfortunately,
God.
yeah,
I'm with multiple activities here, but please ask your question again and I can answer you.
yes. You read the book 33 Degrees. Do you remember that the Shekinah is female according to the
Yes,
theology of
yes.
Judeo-Christianism? So now, if Jesus Christ is God the Father, yes, and Moses slept with God, and God is a she. So that means Moses had sexual intercourse with Jesus Christ according
Oh,
to
yeah,
this
yeah. We
historical
had a whole
tradition.
video about this, sleeping with God. Yes.
But Jesus
Fun
Christ
fact.
is God the Father. So this is new information now. So this
It
is the
gets more
story of
convoluted. Yes.
transgenderism, yes, and homosexuality. Yeah, so
Wow.
Moses had sexual intercourse with Jesus Christ. More details of that to understand the Kabbalah and the 33 degrees and transgenderism in the history of religion is in my book 33 Degrees. I'm sure you're thinking, what the hell? Yes, here. But I thought I'd bring it up right now. But anyway, here in Exodus 22, God the Father says that if you're going to have sex with the beasts, you should be put to death. Now, I mean, who the hell's going to go to sleep with their dog or their cat or their elephant and have sex with them? So this is referring to the humans. Yes, everybody else was seen as an animal. So all these people who keep insisting, yes, who seem to think that they've got a great ancestry. Yes, you were seen as animals and peasants before and beasts, and the New World Order. Yes, many of the people at the top still see you as animals, pests, and beasts, and peasants. Okay? Yes? And they look down on you. And you already know this, saying, hey, they're making a fool of us. So please don't say David's just saying it, because next minute you'll be commenting somewhere or watching a video and saying, oh, yeah, they think we're fools. They're trying to brainwash us. Oh, they put that. Can you see that? Did you see that in that movie? That's part of the Illuminati, blah, blah, blah. Oh, but when David points it out, somebody's going to say, David said it. No, you all already know it. You all already know this. So now the next, the book of Leviticus, here is Jesus Christ as God the Father, yes, who had sexual intercourse with Moses, yes, and it says here, says if a man has sex or is sleeping with an animal, yeah, he should be put to death, and you should kill that animal too. I mean, why are these stories in the Bible? And these animals pray to God, and they wear clothes called sackcloth as well. So these are not animals; these are actually you. That you are the animals, the peasants or the pests. Yes, and if I was the elite, I wouldn't need to wonder why. Why they call them pests and beasts? Yes, because they look down on them.
Well,
Obviously,
also, I mean, there's a difference here because we're using bibchema, which means like domesticated animal. So it's an animal that follows Noahide specifically, which is kind of funny. Not even
no,
just
that,
like a beast, you know?
well done, domesticated. It's like the peasants and the pests today. I mean, you humans out there who are listening, I'm using these words, then you will understand how the world works. Yeah, I'm not saying it's nothing to do with my opinions or something. I'm a nice person. If I don't use these words, we won't understand the nitty gritty. But I'm glad you pointed it out. Yes, it's because today they're doing the same thing. They're bringing up pests or beasts in schools, brainwashing them, telling them about on the 19th of I forgot which month, Neil Armstrong arrived on the moon and sets foot on the moon on the 20th. These stories, they tell you these things. So they brought you up domesticated pests. So we've got domesticated peasants growing up in Europe and America today who are listening. There's many of these domesticated, beasts or Bafima or Behemoth listening right now, Andreas. Yes, and the ones who are not domesticated, they're living in the third world. You see, Latin America, in the villages in China, in Africa. Yes, so the domesticated ones, they're okay. But the thing is, in the old days, there was castration. These days, we'll make sure that we promote homosexuality and condoms and other things, to keep that birth rate
And
low,
pork.
so that they can multiply. Yes, go ahead. Yes?
No,
What did you say?
I just made the joke. And alcohol and pork, right?
Yes, make sure that they get heart disease. Most of them don't realize that the majority of heart disease cases and all these other heart attacks, let them suffer, quick exit or something. It's costing us a lot of money and all this stuff, looking after these pests or peasants. Let them eat pork, yeah, whereas we won't eat it. You know what I mean? Because we're the elite. It's been there for centuries.
Right.
It's in our book in the Bible, but we've tried to hide it and modify it. Yes, but there was that guy called Muhammad, and he spread it, telling all the rest of them, all these other peasants that have now picked it up in Eastern Europe, in places like Bosnia, in Kosovo, the Pomaks in Bulgaria, the Turks, these Arabs. They're learning very fast how we eat at the top. Don't eat the trash. But for the beasts, let them eat all these other real beasts. Don't talk about that, Andreas. Yes, we'll lose money if they start eating real food. It's going to be expensive for us. Let them eat all that trash. Oh, they think it tastes nice too. Yeah, next picture. Yes, so here it is. So it says, and if a woman, it's because when it says woman, yes, it's very important to know this. Yes, it means that the people who are from the children of Israel and the children of the Adamites and the children of the Noahites or the Nephites or the Nephilim or the taller people, because they were taller and other things. And that's why they kept specific animals for themselves. There was no cows or sheep or many other animals outside the city walls. Everybody else was just eating mud and garbage. Yes, and so that's why in India and other places they spread Buddhism and Hinduism. Don't eat the cows and the sheep, leave it only for us. Or don't bury your dead, burn them. Yeah, but we get proper funerals. You know what I mean? In India or in China, but everybody else, cremate them. Yeah, but anyway, if a woman finds any of these beasts beautiful.
Totally. I was noticing that in Vienna, even the Vienna Jewish cemetery, right? It's like the Vienna Jewish cemetery is phenomenal. And then you look at the Christian areas and they just basically like remove the bodies every few decades and don't care, or make them use a mausoleum if they have enough money. Otherwise, they just have to get cremated like
Yes.
everybody else. It's crazy.
But let's get this clear. Now there's three groups of people who protect their graves. Not two, not one, not Jews. Jews, the elite, and the Muslims. There's three groups, and everybody else doesn't realize what's going on.
Right.
I'm glad you pointed it out. Now the thing is, if you want this to stop, it's like this. You know what I call a clever person? I call the Chinese very clever. Yes, because it was known that that they're copycats. They see something, they copy it. If it's successful, if it's not successful, they stop it. So if the rest of the world, with the fake history saying our ancestors were allegedly Christian and they couldn't even read or write, and most of them never read the Bible, and their ancestors never read it, and they still can't read or speak this Hebrew, which is Arabic anyway, just a different shape. Yes. Yeah, and and they're saying, hey, these people are doing this, and we're getting trashed on. I mean, isn't it time that you woke up and copied some of the beautiful things? Well, same to the Islamists and the Quranists. Yeah, even with their fake lies, it's a beautiful symbol, the cross. I doubt they're going to pick it up. They're very arrogant, these Islamists and Quranists. Yeah, I'm very sorry. The cross is a beautiful symbol. I mean, I make it. I'm not going to stop it. I don't care what any of these preachers say who are going to put down and say, "Oh, David, admit this. Oh, David, this," or whatever in their comments. Yeah, if you see them, laugh at them. I laugh at them, and I turn around and think, "Oh, these beasts, they came. No, the behemoth, they came from the third world as immigrants to Europe and America, and now they've got a bit educated, and they think that they're going to preach me with their ways." Yes, and which historically the evidence is against them. But anyway, how could a woman find these animals attractive? It's because the thing is, many of these beasts, they were white, black, yellow. They were from all these races all over the world. So, the peasants. Yeah, so they did the farming, and they kept them all separate. Some of them did metal work, some did this and that. But they didn't teach them anything. They didn't teach them any forms of worship, any reading, writing, nothing. But and then there was other men. They kidnapped children. They castrated them, brought them up as monks. Yeah, because they were there specifically for the elite, just to read and write down the history, write this down. They were basically slaves. If you actually check how the cities function, now nobody's actually checked. If you actually check, then you're going to think, damn, oh my God, when David says that Islam was the first amongst the public in Europe, yes, and the original Islam was through Jesus Christ, he wasn't joking. Yes, and Christ brought the shalom or ishalam or salam to the first group of people, but it didn't spread global. And then Muhammad did the global revolution. Yes, but anyway, here we have in the Bible, in the book of Leviticus, that you can't sleep with these beasts. Now, the next page, somebody could read it.
Leviticus 20:16, if a woman approaches an animal to have sexual relations with it, and of course we're talking about domesticated goyim humans, kill both the woman and the animal. They're to be put to death. Their blood will be on their, I forget.
Yes. Oh, by the way, these laws were there throughout Europe. So this is not the Bible. These laws were in Germany. These laws were in
Right, just like the
France.
Holy Roman Empire followed Leviticus. Yeah,
Yes.
totally.
Yeah,
And
everyone
Spain,
knows
even
it.
with the Maimonides, the
Yeah.
Muslims had this rule too.
Yeah, these were the laws in Poland, in Russia, throughout Europe, inside the city walls. And these laws were not for you, ordinary people who are, from European origins, because you people were the beasts, and if and they didn't want to sleep with you because you are animals. Yes, that's how they saw you before. That's how many of the elites see you now, until Jesus Christ, who was a normal man who led a revolution, as we could see in history, to change things. And then the final part, Moses started off the revolt. Jesus Christ did the revolution. Yes, and then there was it set up these few original Islam, original Christian states, or their own things, and they were getting massacred in many places, but they were still a minority. Like when we talk about the Cathars, the Bogomils, the Valdensians in Germany, Switzerland, northern Italy, and all these people got wiped out. Yes, the Bogomils in Bulgaria and all these other places, until this man called Muhammad came, who's another one of the elites. Yes, and why I say he's children of Israel, it's because we do know that many Ishmaelites married, yes, Israelite women, and the thing is, in the past, the bloodline was based upon your father. That's why they say Abraham, Isaac, Abraham, Jacob, Isaac, etc. Baruch atah Adonai, Elohe Abraham, Elohe Ishak, Elohe Yaakov. Yes, Elohe Abraham. Yeah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I have to read it out in Hebrew to remember it.
Nice work.
By the way, that's the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. I know it. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
it. It's
Good if you ever have some bread and a girl nearby. Yeah, you got to do that.
Well, anyway, yes. So the thing is, so many of these beasts are pests. Many of the normal people who are listening, their ancestors who were taken as slaves and animals who were lucky that they don't have to be cannibals outside the city walls. They were given separate laws. They were allowed to keep some of the farm produce inside the city walls. They weren't Christians. They didn't have any religion. They didn't have any languages either. They just knew a few common words or something, about 100 words. Pick up, throw down, move, go sleep, come out, Pick it up, follow me. They just learnt a few hundred words. Yes. And we could still see that there's many people in poor areas, like, for example, in India today, there's a desert called the Thar Desert. It crosses into the borders of Pakistan. There's about 50 million people there. Yes. And, there's no mountains and valleys. It's all flat land. There's no roads there, nothing. And, there's, people are having sex with each other. And now things have got better. Yes, when I say people, I mean mother, father, children, things like this. It was so bad in the 70s. There's 50 million people there, or maybe more, including the surrounding areas. That's enough of that's same like the population of England. That's how many people there, or the population of France, if there's 70 million, if you count the extended areas. And 30, 40 years ago, many of them didn't even have a language. Many of them even ate each other. If somebody died, cannibalism, anything, they were just totally naked. Yes. But anyway, so the ancestors in Europe were exactly like that. Now, if they're going to say, hey, look at these cities, star-fort cities, by the way, your ancestors have nothing to do with these civilizations, Mr. Europeans or Mr. Asians, who are going to say, look at the star forts in Iran, look at the star forts in Georgia, or look at the star forts in Pakistan or India. You people who are outside. Same like the people who are dying to come over, Latin Americans trying to cross the wall in America, or Africans and Indians trying to cross the wall, and Chinese to cross the wall or the sea into Australia or to Europe. That's who you people were, you see. And then it was this man called Muhammad, or this prophet Muhammad, who turned it global, that he basically defeated the elite in the old world order, and because many of them joined them, whereby he set the slaves free. And if anybody was a Christian, it's not because he worshipped as a Christian, he was a slave. Yes, that's why in many, even in Croatian, the word Christian in old Croatian basically meant, are you a slave? Yes, in that language, it was just Christian. Yes, but anyway, somebody could read this, Leviticus 20:16.
If a woman approaches an animal to have sex, didn't we do this one again? Approaches an animal to have sexual relations so that kill both the woman and the animal, they're to be put to death.
Yeah,
Their
just
blood will
kill
be put
them.
on the altar.
Yes. So these animals were actually humans. Yes. Next. Now this is important about the New World Order, because this is very important, because the Ishmaelites and the Israelites and many other people intermarried. Yes, that when you see that an Israelite mother, woman, daughter, King David's general, married an Ishmaelite man who was the leader of one of King David's armies. And so globalization, and Flamenco points out that the royal family in Thailand, they are even the children of Israel. Yes, it's because the Adamites and the children of Noah and everybody else, they interbred. Yes, and this is why we're having globalization, because it came from God the Father. This is Jesus Christ's law. Yes, because there's many of these right-wingers are, Bible bashers, and they're saying, oh, David's trying to flood Europe and America with immigrants and migrants. But what does Jesus Christ say when he was God the Father, before he got crucified while he was up in heaven? These are the words of Jesus Christ, God the Father. Somebody read it, and what was his command?
The days are coming, behold, the days are coming, declare the Lord, when I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the seeds of man and the seeds of the beast.
Yeah, of course it doesn't mean that that the elites were having sex with crocodiles or with frogs or with elephants. Yes. So the peasants and the beasts, what happened is they started interbreeding with them. Yes, because many of these
Dang, this
peasants,
is nuts. This is so refugee culture in the Bible is predicted, is what you're saying.
it wasn't just predicted. Yes, it's because inside the city walls, I'll give you an example. Let's pretend there's you and me, Andreas. Yes, and Raphael and Nachiketa, we're four brothers. And the thing is, we're living inside the city walls, and our father is the king or the Khan, or he's the ruler, the duke and the lord, and he's one of the children of Israel or the Adamites. And the thing is, the nearest city, the next one by horseback, takes a full day to go, and there's been a plague in our city or something, and then bad farming this year, another plague, just bad farming. And you know what? We couldn't feed the horses, so we can't go out for girls. So you know what? We've got some of these beasts. I mean, and we're based in, let's say, in London, or let's say we're based in Vienna. So there's these Germanite beasts. So we slept with them. That's it, and they gave birth to children, half breeds. That's what happened, and so this is what's continuing to happen. So once it started, yes, it's not stopped. You see, you see. So this is the reality of what happened. Because me and Andreas and Raphael and Nachiketa couldn't control ourselves. Some of the girls who are these beasts or peasants, I mean, they're drop dead gorgeous. I mean, they're gorgeous. We couldn't control it. You see. Yes.
But I mean, isn't it the other? I mean, just because with Jewish law, it's the women that carry
It's
on
not
Judaism.
Jewish law.
So
This is
it's
the
the
elite law.
male refuge. It's the male goyim that are
Big
being
fraud
brought
in the
in.
scam is they're calling it Jewish law. Or why is this a Christian book throughout Christian lands? Yes, because this is our history, the history of Christendom in Eurasia. It is not the history of some bogus place in the desert. Read my book, Jerusalem was in Europe. Yeah, next page. Carry on, Andreas. What else were you going to say? You were going to say something else.
I was just saying because it infers that it's because the Jewish law is that the Isha, like the female, has to carry on the Jewish tradition to Jewish blood. So it would have to. It couldn't be a shiksa. It has to be a male goyim that is seeding the female Jewish blood, right? In order
Yes,
for it to
yeah,
continue.
that's what I mentioned before. Because Didier Lacapelle said that Muhammad was a God-fearer, and so he
Mhm.
couldn't have been one of the Israelites. But what they did was, at some point in the past, this is to do with mixing with the beasts and the peasants. The ordinary people of Europe and Asia. The pests. The peasants. Yeah, so when us elites, us guys, us four, when we slept with these peasants and we interbred. So the word Isha, that's where the word Aisha comes from. Muhammad, yes, was with Aisha, a woman. That's a long story, yes. But so the thing is that what they did was this had a lot to do with interbreeding with peasants, or like I said before, Elohi Abraham, Elohi Ishak, Elohi Yaakov. So there's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yes. So what it was that the bloodline went from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob. It was through the men. But now that we've got all these beasts, that we're sleeping with these normal well, I mean, the pests. We're sleeping with these pests. Some of them are good looking. Yes, from Poland, from Germany, from France, from England, and other places because we've slept with them. Yes. So now the thing is, we slept with a peasant woman. Yes. So what they did was they reversed the lineage of the blood, and what they did was because there would be too many people claiming the throne. Yes, because you slept with too many girls. So the thing is, they reversed it and said, if you slept with the Jewish girl, yes, then only that one, or slept with the royal blood, not Jewish, from the Adamite, Nephite, Ishmaelite, and Israelite blood. From the ruling families, only that child is valid, and the rest of them they're still beasts. You see, that's why they reversed it. You see, and said the bloodline came from the woman. Yes, because us four, and we've been getting drunk. We couldn't control ourselves, and in them days there was no condoms, so every year we slept with 10 women. That's 10 children. Yes, so 10 each, and there's 40 children now claiming the throne, or wanting to live inside the castle city walls. I mean, we can't have that now, can we? Yes. So the thing is, as long as it's from the full bloodline, because if it's from the elite girl, an Israelite or an Adamite or an Ishmaelite or a Nephite, yes, yeah, or an Edomite, from the original bloodline, if it's as long as it's within the family. So that's why they changed it to woman. You see? Yes. So that's why they insisted on it, and also because these beasts, when a sperm is not the human body. It eats the egg inside a woman's body. This is very important in science. It's like the woman who you're with. That's why the English turn around and said, "Don't sleep." They wouldn't marry the Irish. They said, "You are what you eat," because many of the Irish were actually, during the famine years and other things, they were eating each other and eating, all this mud mixed with, as your feet walked around, spread the shit and other things. And so they turned around and said, "You are what you eat, so don't marry them." And so, many of them said that the Irish women were amongst the biggest group of prostitutes in many years in England, and they said, "Don't have children with them." And they're saying they're trying to improve their genetics, trying to make their babies look more human or more beautiful, because many of the English were racist and saw them as inferior. Same like in Yugoslavia, there was many riders in the early 19th century from amongst the Serbs and amongst the Croats, but and amongst the Bulgarians, whereby they turn on and said that the Serbs were like animals. They said this, or the Serbs were saying about the Croats, saying that they're half breeds or they're inhuman. So unfortunately, things like that happened in the past, but it was a fact that they pointed out that that the beast or the pest, the peasants, yeah, they were involved in cannibalism, drinking blood, don't cook anything. I mean, they didn't have anything. They just slept on the floor outside in the field with the hay and the grass. That's how we just left them there. And if some of them died, we'll bring in a few more pests from outside the city walls. It's not our job to keep them alive, but we're good to them, because we want them to work, to do the farming. And that's why we controlled all the seeds and all these other things. But outside, there were cannibals and animals, so that's why they weren't seen as fully human. But it's important to point out that it's the Bible that turned around and says that God is going to mix the blood. You see, and God is going to do this globalization of the elite and then the beasts. So you see, so some people are saying, "Hey, it's a conspiracy and this and that." Well, it came from the God of the Bible. Yes. So now the next one. Ah, no, we're on the next one. Go back. Yes. So because we don't want to run out of time today and finish this. Well, anyway, this is in the Bible, and then it says in the book of Exodus, "I will drive them before you in 1 year lest become the land desolate, and the beasts become too numerous." Because the beasts and the peasants, yes, if they were within the city walls, if there was many of them, so they had population control back in the days. You see, many of the monks and the soldiers and all these other people, they made sure they couldn't reproduce. Yes, so global birth control and depopulation has always been there. It's nothing new. Next page. Yes, so here, yes, and here, this is from the book of Judges, and this is talking basically during the Middle Ages, the wars and the battles, Holy Roman Empire, this and that, throughout Europe, and the princes fighting. And then it says the men of Israel. These are basically the Eastern Europeans and who had invaded into Western Europe. And it says the men of Israel turned back they turned against the sons of Benjamin, and they killed them with the edges of their sword. Basically they went from city to city, the city walls, and so they killed the people and they killed the beasts who were basically fighting against them. I mean, how could you have beasts fighting for you? Yes, and all the beasts were living inside all these cities. I mean, what the hell were beasts doing? I mean, did they have all these monkeys and gorillas living inside all these cities? I mean, you know what I mean. So and the next page. Yeah, so somebody could read this.
The American South is still eating white dirt. It turns out that the ongoing history and the origins of why people continue to snack on powdered clay continues to be mysterious.
Yes, and so the thing is, um, uh, eating soil or clay or whatever, just the earth, was what many of the peasants were doing. Yes, and it was still being done in large quantities in the early 20th century in Europe and America. Even after World War II, people couldn't find any food. Yes, so humans have been eating this for a long time. And even if many of these Muslims try denying it, it even says in their Quran that God made humans from clay also. Yes, and people are still doing it today, like the Thar deserts in India and Pakistan. Yes, because many Muslims try to deny it. And they're going to be preaching in Europe and America. There's people out there who need food, mister, in the Thar deserts in India and Pakistan. Yeah, go and do your preaching somewhere else. I'm not interested, because many of them are preaching me. Next page. Yeah, so here we have it, pictures where people were just eating the soil and things like this. People are still eating mud today. Yes, it's if it's mud, it's softer. And there is stories in the Quran. This is to do with the mud flood, where it says God sent soft clay, baked clay, melted clay from the sky, and it came down and attacked cities in the past. And so if people are wondering why there's many mud flood cities, I mean, this story, parts of it is in the Quran. Anyway, next. Yeah, you'll find many YouTube videos of eating clay and things like that. Millions of people are still eating the soil today. Here's more pictures and things like this. If it's warmer, it's a bit more softer, things like this. So people just get the soil and the dirt, and there's carbohydrates there depending what clay and what salts soil you use. Next. Yeah, so here we have it. People were doing it in the past. They're still doing it today. People didn't have shoes, and people are complaining, oh, they're bringing immigrants from China, India, Brazil, Middle East, Africa. Yeah, the thing is, you don't make your shoes. Yes, and some people are pointed out, yes, even in the 1940s and 50s, in many places in Europe, people walked to school through the snow and the ice without shoes. Yes, it's because they didn't have shoes. Now, the fact is that the beasts and the peasants, they never had shoes until the Industrial Revolution. They started manufacturing a lot of shoes. And so when they wanted children to work, to do the mining and other things so that they could spread, so that the rest of the peasants and the beasts could wear clothes and live in actual houses, same like the elite. That's why we've got houses now for the peasants or the pests. And so the thing is, many people noticed that that their grandfathers told them they were given clothes, they were given shoes to go to do the mining, or before they were given it. I mean, these people didn't have any shoes. And the further we go back, it's like if you look at the history of mobile phones, just 20, 30 years ago, hardly anybody had mobile phones. You have to manufacture them. There's an industrial process and the mechanism. Yes, and logistics process and everything, production process. In the same way, it's the same with shoes. And people are complaining against migrants and other things. Make your own pairs of shoes, guys. Go and do your own farming. Oh, you think your ancestors did farming before? Even they couldn't be bothered. I mean, yes, that they would rather eat the mud. Even in Africa, people can't be bothered. It's difficult to do farming. So if you really think that all these people were doing farming, and somebody commented saying, oh, France has got enough land for all the people. Oh yeah, it had that much land. That's why, yeah, they didn't have enough. That's why they had to go invade and live in Morocco, millions of them. Invade and go and live in Algeria, millions of them. Millions of them went to the Americas, Latin America. Millions of them went to Tunisia. It's because there wasn't enough. So it's a lie. Next, please. Next page. Yeah, so clay eating, it carries on. Next page. Have you gone backwards? Next page. Yes. So now here we can see. Here is the coat of arms of San Marino. San Marino is a country. Many people don't know. It's a country inside Italy. And as you can see, their coat of arms at the top of the crown is a cross that represents the throne of God. And then and they rule, yes, by the permission and the authority of God. Then there's three there to represent the Kabbalah, yes, or the Kaaba of Allah, or the Kabbalah tree of life, yes. And so the three for the Trinity, and then the crown of thorns. So there's a lot of symbolism there. This is from San Marino, an independent state inside Italy. Yes, if you want to understand the Kaaba of Allah, yes, you could spend years, or I've put a summary of it in my book, Science of the Kaaba, and then you could basically understand the geometry of that. Next. Yeah, so now here, yes, here it shows, somebody could read the bottom line, what the Quran says.
And indeed, we created the humankind from an in essence of clay.
Yeah, it says that God created, life from water, and that humans were basically fashioned or made from clay. That's why clay soil, whatever you want to call it, or mud. Yes, and so that's why humans were eating it, and so um, many people are saying, "Hey, look at the ingredients in our food, the sugars, this and that, everything," and many of the damages in the body. They're lying about what humans are made of, human biology, and they're lying about the components. This really needs to be investigated. Yes, nobody's screaming about this apart from the mainstream Muslims. Mention this quite a lot. When I went to the mosque, they told me this about the clay story, and that's when I thought, "Oh my God." Yeah, or otherwise I would have never woke up about this thinking, why were so many people eating mud and clay in Europe? Next. Yes, so here, this is from the BBC. Somebody could read it.
Who, what, why? Why do people eat clay? Clay could even do you harm if it's not food grade quality. It can contain arsenic or lead. Pregnant women sometimes crave dirt clay.
Yeah, so clay, or which is made from soil or mud or whatever you want to call it, different names. Yes, next picture. Have a look. People could watch these videos on YouTube. Yes, you could go out there, just eat the soil with water. It's mud. People are eating it. Yeah, they give it different names: chalk, clay, whatever you want. People all over the world. Many people are still eating this to survive. Millions of people, millions and millions, and they're surviving generation after generation. I know many people who I do charity projects to, that they're actually eating clay. You see, so what is actual human biology and human composition, and the actual real human history? This is very important. I mean, nobody mentions the clay aspect or this mud or soil thing about from the Quran. This is important. Next page. Yes, so here, yes, yes, this is from the Quran, and this talks about, yes, basically it talks about God replaces one group of people with another. Yes, we went through that in the past before, but this is the verse. If anybody wants to read it, next page. Yes, so here it goes through where God turns around and says that he will replace people. And then the Arabic words and the Hebrew words, the thing is, you will notice that the word there in Arabic for people, what is the word, Arabic word for people?
I can't read it very well. It's Kwamen,
Cowman,
Cowman.
cowman, cowman, or quaman. Yes, as you said. Yes, it doesn't say Adam. So that's why many people have said that in the Bible and the Quran, when it talks about the Adamites, it doesn't mean people. Yes, because there are separate words for people or the tribe of Adam and many other things. Anyway, next. Yes. So here we see in the Quran itself, it uses the word Qawman, or however you want it, in many places in the Quran. Yes. In case there's these Islamists who say, yes, about the thing. And the next page is basically another verse in the Quran where it says that God replaces one group of people with another. Yes. And that's why we could see migrations and new peoples coming and going. And then there's, of course, many people have been talking about skin color. Yes. And so the next page, when we look at skin color and other things, now the soil color should hint to us many different things about the dark soils and the lighter soils. So you could read the you could read this. The soil of Europe. This is from the European Union publication in the European Union. Yes.
The darker regions corresponds to soils with higher values of organic matter. The darkest colors, especially in Ireland, the United Kingdom, Estonia, and Fennoscandinavia,
Yes,
denote.
basically in the north. So we've got the
Mhm.
darker, blacker soils and the blacker mud in the north. Yes, now next page. Yes, and so as you notice, as we go to Africa and Central Africa, somebody could read this. Uganda.
Uganda and parts of Kenya have a deep red-orange soil color. Senegal can have white, tan soil sand. South Africa is trickier because there are
Yeah.
a.
Okay, this is very important because when people talk about that the land that they're in, it's got something to do with their skin color and other things. Yes, and people have been eating mud and soil. We've got the dark soils in Northern Europe, and the whiter soils are the red skin soils in the south. Now, next page. Yes, people will find many videos eating mud, and if you want to have the white clays in Africa or the darker clays, the soil and the mud, you can see these things. So the next page, this is from the National Institutes of Health, and of course they give it some strange names, different names to confuse you, geophagia and other things. Yes, and somebody could read this. This is from the National Institutes of Health. This is official history in the United States. They can't hide it because it's recent history. Somebody could please read this.
uh,
Geophagia.
geo- Geophagia, the history of earth eating. Let's see. Geophagia remained common in Europe during the 18th and 19th centuries. In particular, it was still observed in young girls with uh, chlorosis.
Chlorosis. Yeah, so
Chlorosis.
they're going to say it's a disease sometimes. Yes, if your children eat mud or clay or soil. But it was very common in Europe in the 18th and 19th centuries. Yes, it's because people were slowly transitioning to eat farming foods because people were slowly starting farming, or before that, it was the elite 5% who had farming foods. And within the city walls, they let some of the pests who they kidnapped let some of them eat it too because they needed the animals and the slaves to stay alive because they were just machines who were working for them. You see? Yes. If you're going to be my slave and my dog inside my city walls, that you're just, growing potatoes within the city walls because I need these, pests and animals to do it. Of course, I'll let you have a share of it, as it's written in the Bible, and this is Middle Ages history. Yes, where people call it the church history or a medieval history, but this is the reality. Yes, and the truth is nobody's ancestors were Christians or Muslims. Yeah, the majority of the people were pests or peasants or beasts. It's time they accepted the reality and they gave you all false history. Oh, you're from this civilization, your ancestor was Alexander the Great. Oh, you are from this Middle Eastern history. Your great ancestor was Saladin, Sultan Saladin the Great. You guys were all beasts and peasants. Sorry. Next page. I wasn't going to really bring this history out. I brought it out because I've had enough of people because they feel it's their history and they take it personally. It's not your history. Yes, this history, and they've given you their history, but they've modified it because they don't want you to know. So basically, they call it clay, chalk. They're even giving it strange names: geophagia, intentional practice of consuming soil, blah blah blah, to confuse you. Millions of people go out there and see it. Latin America, Africa, millions of people are still eating this right now because they've got no other food. Yes, next. Yes, and so here it is, and they'll say geophagia. It's a disorder. Yes, in some parts of the world, yes, like Europe and America, they'll say it's an eating disorder. Yeah, but it's common and it's normal because humans didn't know how to do farming. You didn't even know, yes, how to speak French until somebody teaches it you. You don't know how to speak Chinese until somebody teaches you. Yeah, 你可以说普通话吗？Huh? 한국 분이세요? Can you speak Korean? Yeah. 대패 한국 분이세요? Ah, you don't speak Korean. You only speak it if somebody teaches you. So I'm saying this, then people will understand instead of jumping to conclusions. Use your common sense and look for the evidence. And so from the evidence that I can see, that the majority, 80%, didn't know how to make mobile phones. Same like the majority of the 80% of public, yeah, can't make mobile phones, can't even make a pair of
David, we lost you
yeah,
for a
past
second.
this, go past it. Ah, it's okay, go past it. So understanding Pika. Yes, here it is. There's many videos. So the thing is, they'll say that it was common amongst women, especially in pregnancy, for centuries and millions of women throughout Europe. It's only now we're in the city areas that they give vitamin supplements and everything to women. Yes, when somebody's pregnant and other things, but they're hiding the reality of how humans were eating for centuries. Yes, the clay, the soil, and the earth. And so the next page. Yes, yes. So here, yes, it's like there was some Islamist and Quranist monkeys out there. You know, religious preachers. I just call them monkeys. Yes, sorry, but to me, these preachers who are full of hate. Yes, they mentioned it, so that's why. As you can see, this. What is the date on the corner of this picture? Could you read the dates, please?
The corner of this picture, it says
Yes,
454, or
9th of
let's see.
January. 9th of January.
We don't
Yes.
see that,
Okay.
but okay.
I don't
Yeah,
see
at
it.
the bottom. At the bottom right hand side.
Oh, I see where you have. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
Okay.
when we did the first video, we ran out of time. But of course, there were these Islamist and Quranist monkeys. I'm sorry, I don't see them as good people. I see them basically as as when it comes to education, they're like the terrorists of education who want to spread their lies and their religion, that they're trying to convert people. Because I didn't finish, this was already ready. It was supposed to go in the other videos, but I didn't finish. So they were turning around saying, "Oh, it doesn't say in our Quran because we're only here to preach our Quran." They left in the comment section. These monkeys did, yes, and they started fights with Raphael too. And many of their comments got blocked or deleted. They said, "Our Quran, doesn't say that all the prophets of God came, came this and that. All these prophets of God. And this is according to their history. I don't care. I wasn't going to talk about your Quran. I'm talking about world history. But I was going to mention that your Quran does say, yes, somebody could read this.
Sure, I'll read it. It says, verse, English translation, for we bestow upon the house of Abraham of old the scripture and wisdom, and we bestow on them a mighty kingdom. Yusuf
Yes. So,
Ali.
yes. So I in the first video, I did explain that there was the children of Israel, the children of Adam, and the children of Noah, and there's many other tribes. Like this would have been in the first video, but we ran out of time. But of course, religious crackpots, yes, don't understand anything. And I told these monkeys to go away, but they still come back to listen, and they're probably listening right now. Yes, I don't know why these beasts come back. Yes, but other people, according to science, normal people evolve. But these religious crackpots are still beasts; they've not evolved. So I advise people to stick with common sense and to do research themselves, and don't be brainwashed by these Islamist or Quranist preachers. Yes, we've seen all these, evangelist preachers, crackpots who reinterpreted the Bible. Yes, because they know that a lot of the things that they were following was just garbage. And so, in the same way, in Islam, a lot of the stuff is actually a lot of garbage. I'm not insulting anybody; it's the truth. There's a lot of garbage in these religions, and so the Quranists are trying to make their religion look beautiful by inventing meanings from fake dictionaries written by Jesuits and Freemasons, and they won't answer. Not a single Quranist or Islamist will answer why nobody can speak Arabic in the entire Islamic world, nobody in the Middle East, and they learn it in schools that were set up by the Jesuits, the British, the French, and the Freemasons. And the meanings of the Quran were given by the Jesuits and the Freemasons, and those are the dictionaries that they use. But no, these monkeys will still preach and say, oh, this is our definition of the word of God. This is what God is telling us. Oh, David, you have to admit this is the word of God. Same like the evangelists are saying, this is the word of God. This is the word of God. Yes. So here we see there is the children of Abraham, and there's many other things. I am not focusing on every part of history, and like I said, the more information is in my books, and there's a lot more history that I'm not talking about. Yes, because we don't have enough time. Yes, so unfortunately, there's not enough time, not even today. So I didn't finish in that first video, but some of these, Islamist and Quranist, beasts and pests and peasants, yeah, had to bark out loud. They couldn't speak like a human. Yes, in the comment section, and I'm glad many of these comments are there so that the world could see that they're preaching and trying to brainwash people. Next page. Yeah, so here, yes, so the Quran says that, Abraham got scripture and wisdom and things like this. And so here is Sefer Yazira. This is an important document that is used throughout Christendom and throughout Judaism, but not in every sect in Christendom or in Judaism. And this is, many people say, is the Book of Abraham or the divine revelation of Abraham that they claim historically, but of course we don't have the originals. But there are books of Abraham that exist. Next. Yeah, so here we have, yes, this is from the Quran, and somebody could read this from the middle, the third line, and no, read it from the beginning.
Sahih International, and we have revealed to you, O Muhammad, the book in truth, confirming that which preceded it of the scripture and as a criterion over it. So judge between them by what Allah has revealed and do not follow their inclinations away from what has come to you of the truth. To each of you we prescribed a law and a method. Had Allah willed, He would have made you one nation, united in religion, but He intended to test you in what He has given you. So race to all that is good. To Allah
Yes.
is your return.
Okay, so it's simple. Here it says to each of the different peoples, God, according to this Quran. So now these Islamists and Quranists, I'm not interested. They can give me their superstitious meanings, but it's just simple Arabic. I went to a mosque and I asked Muslims myself, who passed on the oral Quran, and they said God gave to different peoples, yes, a law and a system and a method. And if God wanted, he would have given them all the same religion or the same way. No, there are different ways, different systems, and God gave whoever this God is. Yes, but God, according to the Quran, is just God the Creator, and He's not God the Son. But it says, there's different ways, different systems, and it says that life is about God wants to test you. So competes with each other to do good things, charity, beautiful things, make the world a better place. This is what these Islamists and Quranists should be doing instead of preaching to people. Yeah, they should be going out to work, these lazy bums. Get off their backside, go out there and get a job. Yes, and start giving their money. Yes, some of these come from countries like Pakistan, India, and the Arab countries. Yeah, there's people there who don't even have shoes, and they've come over here trying to say, I'm trying to save your soul because this is the final word of God, and things like this. Hey, there's people there without shoes, and they don't even have water or anything, and they're living in pathetic conditions. Many of them don't even have proper languages. Why don't you pay for their education instead of preaching? Practice what you preach. I mean, these Quranists and Islamists, they're hypocrites. I mean, they're telling us to follow their Quran and be charitable and to do these things when they don't practice what they preach. Is that not what a hypocrite is? Raphael, Andreas, Nachiketa? Is that not what a hypocrite is?
Yes,
Well, sounds like
that
it,
is.
yeah.
Yes. So, and they're coming here to preach. Yeah. Money talks and Bullstein walks. By the way, Bullstein, yes, means that Bullstein walks. These people are Bullstein. Yes. So at first it sounded like David was preaching Islam. If anybody listens to my older videos, and the thing is, I'm speaking up now because I've had enough. I've had enough of them coming and making my work look bad as if I'm preaching their religion. I'm not. The Quran itself says there's different ways, different methods, different laws. God has given different things. But no, these people are trying to force it down your throat, these Islamists and Quranists, and they're going blah, blah, blah. Ours is the only way. Ours is the liars. Even their own book says it. Does it not say it here clearly, Raphael? That there's God has given different ways and different laws to different people. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yeah, let the Quranis comment. And when I see it, I'm going to fart on your comment. Yeah? Yeah, I'm just going to know that they're beasts who've not evolved. Next page, please. I don't want to run out of time, so yeah. So here we can see, I'm not sure where this is. I think it's Croatia or it's Serbia. I forgot where this picture is. Yes. And the thing is, the people, Zagreb, yes, in 1900. And you can clearly see, you can expand it. You can see the people don't have shoes and they're wearing the white cloths that was made in many industrial factories. So the thing is, after the collapse of the Vatican, in the place known as Constantinople and other things, the city walls were stormed throughout Europe, and the beasts came inside the cities. Yes, everywhere. And the beasts wore this fashion that Mohammed himself spread. Yes, and that was a part of the European elite. That's why they were wearing the hijab. And then because of the production wasn't ready, that's why many people are without shoes, and you will see it throughout Europe and things like this. And production meant that more shoes, same like mobiles, we're producing more. More and more people have mobiles. Or at first, people didn't have computers. They didn't even have them in their houses. Here, the next picture, you can see it more clearer. Zagreb, the next picture, shows you, and unfortunately, this is the reality, that people didn't have shoes. Yeah, just show the bottom part a bit more.
To be fair, Croats are bohunks, man. I ran around barefoot in high school. They were like, if you don't wear shoes, you don't get to come to high school. And I was like, that sounds great. I just don't have to wear shoes. That's the rule.
Yes, and the thing is, it's not about just Croatia, but it's all over the world. They didn't have shoes. And so the thing is, that's why I mentioned the Prophet Muhammad's revolution. And that's why Fomenko mentioned it, that it was the most successful takeover of the world, whereby the elite of the old world order collapsed. And so the thing is, and it's got nothing to do with, what these preachers, Islamists and Quranists are claiming. And then what modern Islam is, there's a lot of lie in that, in the entire history. And then the system of the Kaaba, I've explained it. Nobody will understand the cross without the system of the Kaaba or the system of Christ, unless if they study the scientific system of Islam, which is actually original Christianity. And they both went separate ways. Yes. And the thing is, it's not the only way. It is not the only way. That Islam is not the only way. And even the Quran says it. So next time these, Quranist bashers stop you on the street or somewhere and say, hey, the Quran itself says, hey, there's different ways. Yes, you go your way. Yes, I mean, there's nothing wrong as long as you're doing good. Yes, so next, please. Yes, so here, we can, somebody could read this. This is the reality in 1945, just in Russia.
Putin's world.
Nazi Germany. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
The view from Moscow. Victory over Nazi Germany led to the deaths of 10 million soldiers and 17 million civilians, while another 25 million people lived in holes in the ground by 1945.
Yes, so Russia was that bad. Never mind the rest of Europe. Even in Berlin, they were living in holes, and many other cities throughout Europe. And the thing is, many people they kept the old clothes, because when somebody died, what you did was you took their clothes off. So many people don't understand why there's pictures from World War II, and they killed somebody. I mean, why are you going to take their clothes off? It's because people didn't have clothes. Yeah, you needed machines to manufacture them. You see, so that's why clothes were seen as something special. Like right now, if you're going to go on a rampage, like shooting people, like the NKVD or the Nazis, what you're going to do is say, "Hey, they've got mobiles. We're going to take them because they're expensive." So clothes were special. That's why people took clothes, and so. Yeah, but still, there were many people, millions who were still naked throughout Europe or semi-naked, because there wasn't enough clothes, and many people there was a lot of cannibalism in, unfortunately, in Eastern Europe, Bulgaria, Yugoslavia, Romania, and people tried to hide it, and they've tried to hide this history in the 1950s and 60s, and so they needed communism to actually sort things out, but there wasn't no real communism, so they lied about the history over there in that side. There was no communism. It was like rule from the top to the bottom. But now in the West, especially in Europe and America in the West, we built a beautiful civilization. Now many people can't see it. That's why I've said it would be a disaster to make it collapse. Now what we can do is improve it and not let history, yes, create all this hatred. Like the amount of hatred I saw last year and the year before from evangelists, yes, I noticed it calmed down when I spoke up. Yes, and I hope the thing is, I've made it clear in the last two videos, and today is the third time that the Islamists and Quranists are going to have to talk in a humane fashion, because we're talking about history. It's not about preaching here. We've got the chance to improve the world right now. Even half the elites, we could see that they've given many freedoms, many things that the other half haven't. Yeah, you can complain about what happened during COVID-19. Yeah, it's not perfect, but we've got it a lot better. I mean, I've got 13 pairs of shoes in my bedroom, and we could just go to the Thar deserts in India and Pakistan. I mean, there's 50 million people there in that region and the area surrounding it without shoes whatsoever. Yes, and many of these Islamists and Quranists are from the Indian subcontinent. Why don't they go over there and give shoes over there instead of, just talking, Bullstein? Oh, it's easy to write. Yeah, and act like a big man when you're not going to give, practice what you preach, or, pull money out of your pockets. Yes, the real deal. They won't do it. So we had real problems. Yeah, and the world is better. Just in Russia, 25 million, and then throughout the other parts of Europe, there was another 25 million, 50 million people living in holes in 1945. There was widespread cannibalism and all this. It's a sad history. We've made the world a better place, and I think it would be a disaster to let evangelists, the crazy ones, with their preaching, who are making lots of money in Europe and America with their crowds, and each one of these evangelists, when he dies, yes, when he's gone, the entire group disappears. It's like a personality cult based on these preachers. Same with these Quranist preachers. We've seen them. They come, they grow big, or their channels grow big, or their followings grow big because of the personality. When that person's dead, his thing goes away. Now the thing is, don't let these things brainwash you or create hate. We can never risk going back again. Never again is a message from the Second World War. Not a Jewish message; it's a European message. Yeah, and even from the wars in the Balkans and the wars in the Caucasus, we should have learnt from them. And the Middle Eastern wars, Afghanistan, Iraq, and Gaza, but it looks like we haven't. Oh, the next page shows a map of the soils. So if some people are trying to say that white people, somebody can enlarge this. There's the white soils, yes, and everything that we see in the south, and the black and the darker soils in the north. So if people are going to be racist and saying, and then there's the blacker soils in the sub-Saharan area. So there is the question of, where people originated and these things. This needs to look again. The next page also looks at the soil. Yes. And we could see the white soils and other things in the dark soils. The next page looks, so you could see these show different temperatures, different times of the year, and many other things. People could study it in case somebody are thinking of these, what was really human origin and skin color, because many people seem to think it's a race. Yes, does it matter anymore? The people were naked. You didn't have Christianity. It's because I'm trying to show that this Christian nationalism, it's just fake. It's a lie. They invented this, recently. Anyway, the next page, this is from the New Zealand Herald. I think it's New Zealand. Yeah. And this talks about Italy. So somebody could read this.
Bloody revenge, all in the name of honor. Seen from the north, southern Italy is lawless, feudalistic, introverted, marching to a different drum.
Yes. So many people don't realize Italy could break apart at any time, like Yugoslavia. Same like England and the Irish, and one third of people in England, excluding the immigrants, is actually Irish. So this is Italy. Next page. Yeah, somebody could read this.
Italy's mafia troubles creep north. The mafia has long been a part of life in southern Italy, while the
It's
north
not.
remained mostly untainted.
Yes, the thing is, it's not a mafia. Go to the next page, and the reality is because people were still living in holes and caves, and now they've drawn pictures of churches and other things there. Yeah, because in the early 20th century, they started teaching these people how to speak. Or somebody could read this. Who were who
Yeah,
were
I'll read
the
it. Yeah, yes. So, like, who were the cave dwellers in southern Italy? For those familiar with the area, Matera will conjure up images of the ancient Sassi caves from Paleolithic times all the way up until the 1950s. Families called these caves home. Poverty stricken and living in squalor, families would reside in their homes with no electricity, running water, or sewage systems.
Okay, now if anybody goes to Matera or Madeira, however you want to pronounce it, there's many other places throughout southern Italy. The thing is, before the 1900, millions of people were living in caves in the ground, eating soil. Yeah, and the overcrowded places or wherever, no electricity, no animals, no water, not even a sewage system, no clothes, no shoes. This is the real history of Europe. So now, what they did was, in the early after the 1850s and 60s and 70s, they built a church there, the church and a central area, and they brought Jesuits and a few other priests, and then they started teaching people how to read, write, and speak slowly. Yes, then they started bringing Christianity in, not because of Christianity. And then, of course, they falsified the history, saying that it's an ancient place. No, they were living there in the 1950s, for God's sake. And there's many other places in Italy, in Spain, in France, in Germany, in Ireland, even in England. I've not even been through English history or Welsh or Scotland in case somebody is looking down on the Irish. This has nothing to do with looking down. The truth is, all these people who keep commenting, yeah, you know, with their evangelism, yes, and their evangelistic whatever, who want to preach saying, oh, the Bible says this. Look, you people were beasts and you were animals and you were still naked 150 years ago. You didn't have clothes. You were living with the shit, walking with the shit, mixing it with the soil and everything. You didn't know how to do farming. You didn't even have a sewage system. You didn't even have no water. You had nothing. You were the beasts and the peasants. And the Bible is the history of the Middle Ages going all the way up to the 17th century. And that's the history of the elite, not you. Same like when your children study September the 11th, the war in Afghanistan, that's the history of the elite, their invasions, not you. When they're studying the history of the war in Gaza, they'll learn it in 100 years' time. That was the history of the elite, not you. You see? Yeah? Next page. Yes. So here, yeah, the thing is, here we could see this is in you know, Knopfler's song, Lewis's book, and they're talking about the underworld in England, and they talk about what was really going on in England in a 1960 interview with Stutz Terkel, and Alex Lomax talked about Lucania, the great dark territory south of Naples. Naples is like halfway in Italy, you could say, and he's talking about, the haunted country. Yes, and he's saying starvation, terrifying people. People lived in holes in the ground. Can you see it at the end of the first paragraph? Yes, this is an interview in 1963. You see, millions of people, or God knows how many. We don't even know how many. So south of Italy is half. South of Naples is half of Italy. These people had no proper language, not even no toilets, no nothing, not even no water to wash their ace, man, or their ace after you have a toilet, whatever. This was the reality. A similar thing in Spain. Now the next page. Yes. Now here is another population graph, as you could see. Yes, 1453, the fall of Constantinople. This is what changed history. Yes, now they've added another 200 years on, and that's why we could see the population going up and whatever, but it's more like around 1650, 1750 or something, because there's a 100-year error in Flamenco's calendar. He points out between the Eastern and Western calendars and says Jesus Christ was he crucified. He gives two different dates, and then I couldn't find the 19th century, so that's like 200 years. So it would bring it to like 1650 or even 1750 if there's a 300-year problem, because there's a problem even after the Renaissance itself. But basically, after this man called Sultan Muhammad, yes, and he had nothing to do with these Arabs or whatever, or this fake invention of the Turkish race. Yes, it was people from the Balkans, the Slavs in Eastern Europe, and the Germans, yes, who invaded Constantinople. And then one by one, they destroyed all these walled cities, and then the people were given freedom. Yes, and then once the walls were collapsed everywhere, it was too late. The elite had to share with the rest of the people, and that's why the city walls collapsed. And so
So
here
I
we
just
see
like
the
to reiterate again that the city wall, the Stafford Wall in Vienna, officially was only dismantled from the 1870s. So this is not
yes,
long ago.
yes, the city grew bigger. So Vienna, even with Paris, there were shanty towns outside because the pests or the peasants. I'm using the word pests and beasts so that because these are the biblical words. You know, God the Father, Jesus Christ, while before he was born, he called everybody, you know, pests, beasts, and animals. Yeah. So in the tradition of our Lord Jesus Christ, yes, you know, the pests and the beasts. They lived outside the city walls. They crowded around. They became shanty towns. Half the walls were slowly breaking, and so that's how shanty towns came. Because you know the animals or the pests and you know these cannibals, yes, realized how to speak, and that's why they invented all the fake languages recently. And there was a competition to race with each other, as the Quran said it. Yes, and so it was supposed to be like you won't believe this. The Germans and the Ottoman Turks, I call them the Ottoman Germans, they gave out the licenses in many places in Kosovo and even in Croatia to teach the Serbian language in Krajina. So it's like many Croatian people at the time turned around and said, "Hey, they're teaching the same language but giving a different history, and this is going to cause a conflict." And they tried to reconcile it, saying that no, they're the same people, they're Croats and something, but with the Orthodox religion, with the same thing. But no, so some of these license and permits were originally there so that people could learn how to speak. They didn't know how to speak. And poetry was the method of speaking. I'll go through that next time. And that's why a large percentage of the Bible is poetry, and so is the Quran. But no, these people are going to insist it's divine. And that's why I mentioned William Shakespeare. And I did a video, you know, Shakespeare didn't exist, but and I showed the patterns of the poetry with the 19 codes in Shakespeare and other nationalist things. You know, the same codes are in the Bible and the Quran. But no, some people are going to say they're divine. These Quranists, there's many Quranists in America who say, no, this 19 code is divine. And this is the evidence that the Quran is the word of God. Well, we find it in Shakespeare. Yes, the next page. So here is the Crown of England, as you could see, and the squaring the circle. You can see that the circle at the top, which is the world, rule Britannia, and then the square. Yes, but it's also the cross, and then the two easts and the two wests, the way it goes. So the cross represents the kursi, or the you know to represent the heavens, and God's throne is over the heavens and the earth. And the next page is the you can see the crosses that people see throughout Anglo-Saxon lands. You can, some people call it the Saxon cross, others call it the Irish cross. Call it whatever you want. Yes, but this cross is the actual symbol of the throne of God or the seat of God. And the Quran also said it, but there's no, these Muslim deniers. I presented the evidence. And so the cross is a beautiful symbol. And the next page, yes, shows the beautiful cross, the cross of heaven. And this is to show the throne of God. And that's why the Knights Templars carried it. It had nothing to do with Christianity. And that's why they say the Ottoman Germans or the Ottoman Turks, when they invaded Vienna, they had crosses on their flags. Yes. Do you see now what the cross actually was? Do you see it now, Raphael? Andreas, we mentioned this before in an interview.
Makes more sense now for sure. Yeah.
Yes. So,
The
as you can
throne.
see,
Why would you? Of course, you want the throne as your symbol.
yes, yeah, to show that we worship God, yes, and that we worship the throne, and the throne.
We surrender to the throne. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So it was a symbol used worldwide. It's a beautiful symbol. I love it, and I like the history of it. This is the real history. And of course, they turned it and said, no, the red represents blood. No, it doesn't. That's just a lie. So now, in the next page, here I'm going to show there's some problems with the Quran. People could read it. In the next page, there is stories where it says that somebody could read this. Here's a translation of chapter 15. It says that God
And
created man.
yes, and when I have proportioned him and breathed into him, or breathed into him of my created soul, then fall
Yes,
down
the
to him
next
in
one is a bit
prostration.
easier.
Prostration.
Read the next line
Yes.
also.
Pick it all. Picked all. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
when I have made him and have breathed into him of my spirit, do ye fall
Ah,
down,
okay.
prostrating
So
yourselves unto
you
him.
could say this in easy English. Yes, it's clear what it says. It says that according to the Quran here, and the Quranists are using this. Yes, according to this, it says that what do you call it? God made man, and then God has breathed God's spirit inside you. And then God's telling, I'm not sure who it is, the angels or some other people, yes, some other creatures or whatever, that they should bow down to God, bow down to Adam, because God has put his soul inside you. Doesn't that make you God? I mean, you've got God's spirit and God's soul inside you. Now, this was the problem of the Nicene Creed, and this was where people started fighting. Let's go through it word for word. Go through the next page. What does it say according to the Quranists and the Quran that they're preaching? These Quranists preaching. Yes, God's spirit. Does it say God's spirit is inside Adam, that God has created Adam? Whose spirit is there? Does it say David's spirit or Andreas' spirit or Nachiketa's spirit? Or does it say God's spirit?
The translation says, my spirit.
Yeah. Yeah, so now you've got God's spirit inside you. And so the next page, yeah, the next page it says, yeah, somebody could read it. So bowed down, prostrated means. So they bowed down. Who bowed down to Adam?
So prostrated the angels, all of them together.
Ah, okay. So this means that according to the Quran, you've got God's spirit inside you, and that you could command the angels because they have to bow down to you. Isn't this what the Quran says? Yes. So now the next page where it turns around and says that it turns around and says the police or Iblis. Yes, that's where the word police came from. Yeah, he basically refused, and he was one of the jinns. And so now the next page, yes, when we read the Bible, yes, and so this is Jesus who is God the Son, and God the Son turns around and says that God the Father has said, yeah, what does it say? Is it not written in the book of John?
Jesus answered them, is it not written in your law? I said, ye are gods. If he called them gods, unto whom the word of God came.
Yeah. So basically, not only Jesus, but it's supposed to be in the law of God that God the Father, Jesus is God, that He sent the law to Moses and to other prophets, and that this law says that the humans are gods. Yes, and Jesus repeated it. So what actually caused all the wars? The next page. What caused the wars was the humanists
Can I
and the
can I really quickly interject for 10 seconds? I just want to also remind people from Romans 8:7, which confirms your idea. And if we are children, 17, I'm sorry. And if we are children, then we are heirs, heirs of God and co-heirs with Christ, if indeed we suffer with him so that he might be glorified with him. But the same thing. If we are children of God, we are co-heirs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, that's a beautiful thing in the Bible. I've read it. I've always thought it's beautiful. That doesn't mean it's correct. But now these Quranists and Islamists are speaking against the Bible religiously. I'm not into religion, but doesn't it say in their Quran that God's spirit is inside you, according to their Quran? So what caused the problem?
Right.
Yes. What caused
Yeah,
the
and the
problem
Bible.
was Yes. So the problem, what's causing all the killings, that we saw it in the former Yugoslavia and in the Caucasus and in the Middle East, we could see it's causing murder, and it caused all these crusades. Was when one person decided to define what the exact meaning is, and they're telling people, admit it, David, admit it this, or why don't you declare it's the word of God? Why don't you declare this and that? Because what the Nicene Creeds and what these what the Vatican did, they are the Pharisees. What these people did was they tried to force the 5%, not the 90% beasts and animals. They didn't care about you guys. That's amongst their family and amongst the elites, and from the Adamites and the Ishmaelites, the Israelites, and the Edomites. Notice that the Edomites, children of Esau, actually they've lied about the history. It's the Adamites, it's the same group, but they modified it because they'll say Esau and Jacob, but that's actually Esau, who is Jesus, and then Esau, Jesus, and then they said that Joshua was originally called Yeshua, but his original name was Osi, and that's where the word Osiman comes from, the Osmans or the Ottomans. That's why it was called the Horsemen, the Knights of Christ, because Christ was called Osia. Yes, that's his original name according to the Old Testament, not these fantasy, preachers who were saying it was Yeshua. No, it wasn't. Yeah. Well, anyway, so what they did was, what did these people do when they're saying, no, this is what the word of God, when they tried to define what is the spirit and what is the essence of God, what did it do? You could start from the Nicene Creed. What did it cause?
The Nicene Creed represents a decision of the council in favor of Athanasius. Division caused wars in the period. More wars would likely occur.
Yeah, it just caused murder. Yes, when they were trying to declare what is the meaning of God's spirit inside you, what is the meaning of that the angels bowed down. Now this story is not in the Bible, but they must have had that story because that's in the Quran, or otherwise why did they start fighting? Now the next page, somebody could read it. Yes, so the Nicene Creed, what did it actually do?
The Nicene Creed defined as of the substance and of one substance, the solemn words, what the essence of God is.
Yes, so what they did is, this is what the evangelists have done and the Quranists have done. They're trying to give definitions, and they're trying to tell you this is what God has said, and they're trying to define it. And that's what caused the Crusades. That's what caused all the wars. And that's why many Islamists, and evangelists often get arrested in societies, and they're sent to the bottom block, or they get arrested. Yeah, because what they're doing is
And why
they cause
Mormons reject the Nicene Creed.
well, I want to finish off, so we won't go into that today. But of course, they falsified the history. What date? The next page. What date did the Nicene Creed happen on?
Oh no, it's the 19th.
Better have been the 19th.
On-
Oh, what? I knew it. I knew it.
Andreas,
Sorry, June 19th. It was Juneteenth. Juneteenth, 325.
Yes,
Oh boy.
it's because they don't want you to
Now
know
I hate Juneteenth and the Nicene Creed more. That's amazing.
Yes.
I didn't know I could hate them either more. That's incredible. Good job, David.
Yes. Well, the next page, as you can see, repeats again, John chapter 10, verse 34, where it says in the New Testament that it's in the Old Testament or in the scriptures of God, where it says that humans are gods. Yes. And so the next page after that, it says this. It says that, now this is very important. Now the Quran, when you see it, the Quranists are going to give their own meanings, but you could read it. Somebody could read this. And when?
Andreas, you
Go ahead. Okay.
And when?
Where I don't see and when at the top. And when said your Lord to the angels,
Next page.
indeed, I am going to place in the earth.
Next page. Now, as you could see, the word where it says God is going to place, that the same word doesn't say going to place, that they choose the meanings as they wish, they invent the meanings. It says, I'm going to
Right.
make on earth. Yes? it normally says make, but here they chose and invented saying I'm going to place. So it's the same word that actually says that God said to the angels he's going to place on earth. Next page, somebody could read it. That what is God going to place on earth?
A vice regent, they said, will you place in it?
Next page.
Will you place in it one who will spread corruption?
Yes, now go to the next page. Yes, and as you could see, they translated it as will spread, future tense, but it doesn't have a future tense. It just says somebody spread or spreading corruption. It's actually in the present tense.
Or
Yes.
will cause. You might cause corruption. Yeah.
No, it means that he is causing. It's in the present tense. And actually, the Bible and the Quran,
Totally.
yeah, most of the Bible and the Quran does not speak in the past or future tense. It's written like in a poetic prose way that it's in the present tense. So it's saying the angels have now questioned God. They're questioning, so God's having a conversation like a parliament and saying, are you going to make on earth, not place, are you going to make on earth the vice regents, means the master of the universe, the master of earth, the one who is causing all this corruption? And go to the next page. Now, the next page, somebody could read it.
In it,
Andreas?
and will shed the bloods while we.
Yes. Yeah. So now the thing is, it says will shed. They're claiming it's the future tense. But now what we can see is that according to Islam, it says God is going to make, yes, a ruler or a master on earth. And he chose man, yes, whoever or whatever man was. Yes. And the angels turned around and said, are you going to make him the master of this beautiful creation when they cause bloodshed? Yes, it means that they were humans were already on earth and they were causing bloodshed like cannibals and animals, because the Quran is actually speaking in the present tense. Of course, the Quranists let them come out with their whatever and say it's talking about the future. The angels knew the future. Well, if the angels know the future, then that means the Satan worshippers are doing the correct thing. They communicate with angels to find out the future. That means that Christians and Muslims are wrong according to the Quran because the angels know the future. No, the angels said that they are causing bloodshed. The Quran is speaking in the present tense. Yes, and so on the next page, yes, somebody could read it. What God did to Adam. You've gone past a page.
And he taught Adam the names, all of them.
Yeah, so basically, God educated Adam. Same like when they invented the languages, yes, in the 18th to 19th centuries and started teaching people things. Or Adam, basically, whoa, he didn't know. You see? So now on the next page, here we have, just a simple translation of the Quran, and somebody could read it. I'm not saying this. This is from the Muslims. In case somebody's saying David's saying it, these Quranists and Islamists, yeah, you know what I mean. Crazy crackpots and monkeys are going to say, "Oh, how could David say this?" And he's inventing a translation. No, I'm not. What does it say in the Quran?
This is from Dr. Lale Bakhtiar. And when thy Lord said to the angels, truly, I am assigning on the earth a vice regent. They said, wilt thou be one who makes on it someone who makes corruption on it and sheds blood, while we glorify thy praise and sanctify thee? He said, truly, I know what you know not.
So humans are causing corruption and they're causing bloodshed. And God is about to make them the master of the universe. Now, in case people disagree, there's many other translations. So here you could see the joke of the Quranists. Yes, when they're just simple words. Yes, the next page, somebody could read it and you'll see how many read all the strokes. How they're not sure what the translation should be. So it's a bit easy. Yes, somebody could read this.
And when your Lord said
And
to
when
the
your Lord
angels,
said, oh, good.
Go ahead, Andreas.
Sorry. And when your Lord said to the angels that I am making, creating, putting in the earth a caliph or successor leader, they said, do you put in it who corrupts in it and sheds the blood, and we praise or glorify with your praise, and we continue to admit your holiness and sanctity to you. He said, I know what you do not know.
So basically, humans are already there wherever they are. They're causing corruption and bloodshed, cannibalism, murder, shedding blood means, I'm basically stabbing you, ripping open your heart and your blood spilling, in case you don't know what it means. And so they're saying here, they're showing that it could mean any of these. And so Quranists are going to pick and choose and go through dictionaries and make up their own meanings. Yes, because they want to hide it. And so now the next page, yes, what we could see is that what does the Quran say? Who is Jesus Christ? Somebody could read it. This is the Quran.
Okay, Jesus, son of
Nurture.
Mary, is only a messenger of God, his word, and a spirit from him whom he conveyed to Mary. So have faith in God and his messengers.
So now we got a problem. According to the Quran, Jesus Christ is the word of God. Isn't the word of God God himself? And then it says that he's a spirit from God. He's the spirit of God, according to the Quran. Yes. So we've got the Quran has got all these problems. So is Jesus Christ God or not? And then you've all got God's soul inside your things. Now this is a subject we haven't finished, but because it's been 2.5 hours already, I tried my best to be as fast as I could. I'm sorry we've not finished, and because we've not finished, if there's any crackpot religious monkeys out there, don't bother to read your filthy, dirty comments, or leave it there, yes, so that somebody can trash on it and laugh at it. Yeah, because I need entertainment, and when people get drunk on Friday night, we need somebody to laugh at. Yeah, so leave your trashy, filthy comments on the end. But to all the nice, decent people, yes, and the good people and the good humans who have listened, yes, this is history. And to understand history, if you want to understand
I
who
think
we
it's
are, yes, go on. If we
I'm
want to
sorry. I
understand
was just
who
saying
we
it's
are,
amazing. This is really great information about how we are. I mean, when the ye are God's part is interesting because the whole time we're talking about how this group who hates us. I mean, you have to remember these books are written not necessarily by God, even though they say they are. And so there's a group of men that are saying this other group of animal or domesticated, civilized men that are wild men. They're saying the wild men are secretly and actually gods, right? And this is very Promethean, this idea that the man has been created to seed the temple, and that eventually what will make these worshipers of gods like the gods is actually intermarrying with the gods. And so it's interesting because that means that the average layman plebeian is sort of a giant.
Yes, this history is actually hidden. So now if we have, let's say, if we have the Spirit of God inside us, according to the Quran, God put his spirit inside us. If this is actually true, and all these Islamists and Quranists are denying it, then the power of what these Muslims are doing in Mecca is the greatest form of Kabbalah. It is the most greatest and advanced form of Kabbalah ever. Yeah, and even though the Quranists will deny it and they don't like it, of course they'll be jealous because they're a bunch of, uneducated trolls, or they are humanists who are using their human mind to give their own interpretations. They remind me of the Vatican, giving their own opinions and their dictations, so that they want to force their way preaching upon other people. I mean, the thing is, the Quran itself says there's different ways, and the cross is a beautiful symbol. Yes, I'm glad. I'm glad the evidence is there in the Quran, so the Muslims can't hate me for it. And I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. The cross is a beautiful symbol. If you've got it and you use the cross to worship God and you make it as a symbol, I mean, the Muslims make the symbol. They lift their hands when they pray. I mean, the cross is a beautiful symbol that you make. Many people do if they want to approach God or communicate with the Creator. I mean, it's beautiful. I like it, me personally, and I do it, and I ain't stopping it for any of these crackpot Islamists or Quranists. There you go. Yes, I like Islam as it is. I've got nothing against it. And many people have said many times, David, he's pro-Islam. I like Islam too. I'm not time. And didn't you notice all the comments and people have been saying, God, David is preaching Islam? Haven't you noticed this? So nobody can say I'm actually against Islam. Didn't you get that feeling that many people said that?
Well, people have been saying all kinds of things, both pro and anti, and making up their own
Yeah.
ideas about what you're
Yeah.
actually saying. But this
Yeah,
is why it
normal
takes time
people
to
are
explain.
okay. Normal people
I
are
think
okay.
people got to. I think people need to read between the lines, though. See, the thing is, like we were talking about earlier, if we're saying a book is written by Ezekiel the prophet in the 6th century BC, that doesn't mean it wasn't rewritten by Sadducees during the time of Christ or after the time of Yeshua. You know, later on rewritten,
Yes.
and the way we're reading it, you've just
Yes.
shown it's
Yeah,
been
you're
translated
right.
wrong on purpose as a joke, just to
Yes.
mess with us. So if someone
That's what
says
the
that you're a
evangelists are
domesticated
doing right
animal,
now.
don't
They're
take it
missing
so
it.
harsh.
Yes,
Like if
that's what the
someone who likes to do terrible things to children, as these books suggest, think
Oh,
that
God.
you're an undomesticated animal,
Yes.
don't take
True.
it so harsh. You know, like these people aren't like you don't have to respect what these
Yes.
people think, but you should
The
know
real,
that they have a book
I don't
about
take
you.
it so hard, but what I do care about is the genuine listener, the genuine person who's looking for history. I want them to be aware that many of these people are preachers and they're not looking for history. I'm not a preacher.
Right.
I'm going through
But
history, and
but
I'm not.
I like where we're going because we're looking at preachers. We're debunking, but we're also investigating
Yeah.
just generally what it is that
Yes.
they're claiming. And it's I think
Yeah.
a number of people here never would have thought to connect. They know goyim means an animal, but they didn't really think that the Bible is talking about them when it says animals, right? And that's a
Yes.
really important point.
And an important thing about this is that they have to check Europe and check the measurements. Have a look at all the Starford cities, and you'll see that there's layers of walls where the elite and their family lives. You know, like 100 or 200 people, or a few hundred people, and the rest of like about another 2 or 3 thousand people for farming and for the food supply, and 1,000 people for the soldiers' quarters on the outside near the walls. Or the thing is, humans were beasts. They lived outside in the dirt and the shit and the mud. If there was forest, they were lucky. If there weren't forest, then they were just living in a lot of crap. They were naked. They didn't have any languages. They were like, and they were scary. And then, the elites, when they fought their cousins in other cities or other ruling families, what they did was, if they defeated that city, what they did was, if they, normally the elites, they forgive each other and they swear allegiance to each other, and they used to kiss each other's
Well, yeah,
hands.
sometimes they also kill each other and then they rape and pillage and burn the bones of their
Oh,
former priests on top of the old altars. That's the
yes.
thing that you're pointing out with
Oh,
Josiah here too, right?
yes, when they did that, but the majority of the things what they did was, it's like Andreas, it's like if you and me were going to invade Nachiketa and Raphael City. Yes, we'll leave that to we'll let the beasts come in and do the raping, and then after they rape them, they eat them.
Well, I think all right, I don't want to like divert
Because
too
when the
far because I
city
know we're
walls
like near the end.
fall,
We're at
when
the end.
this is
But
what you see.
there's
We
a
actually
point here I think that's interesting that the
no,
old
no,
Jews and
this
the
is
old
in the
Muslims,
Middle Ages
that
documents.
Muslims right now, when
This
we're
is
talking
actually
about Islam today, people think we're talking about this sort of nameless, shapeless, formless God, even though Allah is all El and Aya. It's the male and the female, El and Aya. So it's this he, she. It's the love
oh, this is,
connection, the tantric
yes,
between the family,
yes,
right? And the
yes,
old Jews, this is what the Hanukkah menorah represented. The Hanukkah menorah is
yes.
the
The symbol
wife
of
of God,
Allah
Asherah,
extending.
and the family with the children of El Elyon. So to go from worshiping the family, which is a powerful symbol for creating a family and raising your
Yes,
family like
and the
this,
symbol.
we're saying ye are
Yes,
gods, raise your
yeah.
respect your
The
wife,
symbols that.
respect your son, respect your
Yeah,
daughter. That they take that away and they say, you know what, you have to worship the unknowable, shapeless,
yeah,
formless tetragrammaton, and they're going to kill anyone who doesn't
yeah.
believe
And the
that. I think that's an
tetragrammaton.
interesting.
Okay, okay. The tetragrammaton is exactly the same as the symbol for Allah, but it's just rotated. People don't know. And for more
Exactly.
information, We mentioned this actually in our video 33 degrees, so people could go back in the past and go through that video. Yes, that the symbol of Allah, the male and the female, the man and the woman, and the Trinity. Yes, they've been using these symbols because it's for them, and then now they're using it against us, and they modified it. It's because now they're thinking, hey, these peasants and these beasts are becoming a bit intelligent, so we'll throw a few religions at them, let them choose. They don't really care if you have a religion or not. But then some of these beasts, yes, they think that God gave them these religions, so they're preaching it and they're interpreting it and insisting on their own way. And unfortunately, it causes a lot of violence, and that's and a lot of hatred. And so, hopefully, the lesson to learn from today is let's not let this violence get to us or this hatred get to us, because this is actually just history, and they're using it against us. These churches and these mosques to spread hate. And but the churches are more regulated. The state watches out on them. But the evangelical preachers, nobody's watching them. They're making crazy videos. YouTube has to delete them. And the Quranists, these, evangel means they're going off the evangel book and they reinterpret. Quranist means they're going off the book and they reinterpret based on the dictionaries. Yeah, and anybody could write dictionaries. I mean, I got friends who went to Oxford University. Yes, and we've got the Oxford Dictionary. You just add new meanings on whenever. Every year they're adding on
But,
new.
like the commercial, like Elohim is like Olive Garden. It means family.
Yes. So yeah, you could make up your own meanings as you wish. Yes, but the original meanings were the simple ones. Yes, and so that's what it is. I mean, and the rest of it, when it comes to religion, we can guess. You see. But anyway, let's leave it at that. Yeah. We've already been, I'm guessing, has it been 2 hours and 42 minutes? I'm guessing. Is that correct?
Yeah,
2
it's
hours
45.
42. Yes, it's been a long time. I thought we'd finish today, so unfortunately we're gonna have a part 4, and let's just do it next week. It's because I'm dying.
I think it's fortunate. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's good to get a couple hours deep
I
in
actually
these, and
thought
I'm
we
glad
would
that we're
actually
doing such
finish
interesting
this
presentation.
part. I thought we would finish.
That's funny
in
because
this
people are
part.
like, "How the hell does this guy talk straight like for 3 hours? How does he do it? How's he got?" I've always believed if you have the energy in you
I'm
to
not.
do it,
I
then
feel
there's
like I'm under
it's
pressure
flowing.
or something. I've been dying for a
It's
cigarette.
a medium work, man. You're an oracle.
Yeah, and
Oracle of Delphi.
yeah, there's many things that we haven't finished, and of course, a lot of the information people are going to say, "How could David say this? That the Quran says this, and we think it says that, and how could he verify the meanings?" If I don't explain it now, because the Islamists and Quranists, these preachers will bark. They could read my book, Science of the Kaaba. The rest of the information is there. If they've not read it, yeah, it shows how dumb they are. Because imagine I'm going to say that this will happen when you drive a car, when I've never had a driving test and I've never driven a car myself. It shows how dumb I am. Yes, so many of these Islamists and Quranis who've not even read the book Science of the Kaaba, and I'm discussing this book. Yes, it just shows that their background is probably from the third world, and their mentality is third world, and their religious thinking is a third world type of religious thinking, and they're trying to pass this on to educated people, the good people who are listening. Many of them are from educated backgrounds and they're still educating themselves. We're always educating ourselves, but sorry, I'm not having religion in this. And I know that there's been some people who've been barking like dogs saying, "Oh, David got angry when I said declare that the Bible or the Quran is the word of God."
Yeah, but you know what? All the Mormons loved it, and that's all that really matters to me.
The Mormons, I like them because they are they claim, many of them claim they're from the bloodline of Ephraim and from the children of Ishmael. So that's a great thing because
it's a good thing to live up to.
Oh well, they've got their enemies because these so-called Arabs, they claim that they're the Ishmaelites, but from the children of Ephraim or the Ephraimites. But the Mormons
that's why that's why the Church of Jesus Christ is called the Mormons, right? They're the Mormons,
Yes, and Nephi and the Nephilim and other things. That we'll have to go through some other time because Professor Anatoly Fomenko said they've got some genuine history there, and it's been remodeled. Yes, and many people.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not talking about the religious side, but the history is genuine, and that's why even the elders of the Mormon Church declared and said that black people they've been included now because of the system of Christ and the blood mixing and the seed mixing and other things. We'll have to go through that some other time. Unfortunately, yeah, we're running out of time, so let's close it for today. Yes.
Well, thank you, David, as always.
Yeah.
And everyone, please make up your own mind, make your own research, and come back with qualified comments, ideally, and then we explore further.
They're allowed to bark if they want to. When people get drunk on Friday night, people need entertainment. It's a bit cold these days, so many people are drinking inside their houses, and they're listening to the videos, and then they read the comments and they laugh. I mean, please let's have some stupid comments too, Raphael. Yes, entertainment. I mean, the elites do have jests and clowns, don't they?
Well, I'm always for free speech as long as it's no unqualified ad hominem attacks. Everyone, please, bring your
Yes.
jokes and your
Yes,
comments, and we're happy
yeah.
for
Please
it.
don't attack anybody and things like that. Yeah. So if you want to bark, please bark, but don't bite. Yes. Be a bit friendlier, like "Ruff, ruff, ruff, ruff." Okay, but don't bite anybody.
Thank you, David.
Okay.
Thank you, Andreas. Thank you, Raphael. That was very interesting.
Thank you, Nachiketa. I love doing this. I appreciate us doing this together. This is a lot of fun, and thanks for being here and working with us.
Thanks, everyone, and thanks, everyone, for listening.
Okay. Yes. Bye.
Ralph, David, and Chris. Ralph, David, and Chris. Ralph, David, and Chris. Ralph, David, and Chris. Phone makeup, makeup. 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 Phone makeup. Phone makeup, phone 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 makeup.